Gunquestions.com is a website that we built back in 2007, and since then, for the last 15 years, people have been able to ask questions of simple to advanced nature, and we attempt to answer them in different ways over the years. Join us now as we start a new series to answer gun questions.
All right, welcome everybody, and sorry about that, Tony. I think I just noticed that I cleared my throat really loud into the microphone. I thought it was muted, but sorry if it was not. Anyway, we're joined by Tony again, and we're doing our Ask Gun questions. A little bit later than normal, but let's dig in. So thanks again for joining, and thanks, Tony, for jumping in. It sounds like you got a little bit of the crud.
Yes, I got the SHOT Show crud.
How bad was it? How bad did it get?
Just took me out, zero energy. I tried to get things done the Monday I came back, and it just kicked my butt. And then I had like a couple things to do Tuesday. Two things. It took me nearly all day because I kept falling asleep in my vehicle in the parking lots or wherever I went. And I'm not talking about nodding off. I'm talking about like an hour later, I'd wake up. It was really frustrating. So I fought all the way back home, did what I had to do, and just stayed here taking medicine and staying away from everyone.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm glad I asked because I guess I was asking because, you know, everybody gets a little bit different, whatever, symptoms or probably different diseases, right? Like we're going into an international event, 60,000 people plus just Vegas, the airplanes and everything. So, I mean, who even knows what gets us, but we probably, well, you're a little bit different than me. Like I don't really do much throughout the year anymore. Shot's my one thing that I do. So that's where I go around way more people, but you do more things, but still probably shot's one of the larger things as far as like number of people you interact with. But
pretty much only get sick at SHOT Show. Since 2020, the 3 times I've gotten sick were all SHOT Show. And they all were coming back from SHOT Show 3 out of 4 times.
Huh. But I guess what I was going to say is the people that in my group from Tucson that have gotten sick, it's usually like throwing up and violently ill, like I don't know what you call like flu symptoms, I guess. And then kind of goes away once those physical symptoms are gone. But what you're talking about is kind of what I had. I didn't have like, I wasn't sick or nothing at all. Like I didn't feel bad or anything, but I just couldn't get motivated for a couple of days there. And I kind of chalked it up to jet lag because just kind of having a pace that I don't normally have and all that driving, I just figured it was catching up with me. But when you describe it as just not having any energy, like that I definitely encountered. And I wonder if that is a symptom of something that I actually caught and it just didn't get me, you know, the ill part, but I got that part. Or maybe it is just I'm old or something. I have no idea. Anyway, that's been happening for you all week. And is it getting better? I mean,
yeah, it got better. I feel I have more energy. But I didn't know I didn't have a voice until my wife shot me a message earlier. And I was like, hey, feeling great. You know, I hadn't spoken though. I haven't spoken all day. And my wife gave me a call and I realized I'm not making any noise. So she jumped on and ordered some stuff, tea, honey, that kind of thing. A lot of fresh fruit because I've been eating canned fruit at the house. And again, I haven't been eating much either. I'm talking about a small meal a day. So that might also be one of the reasons I wasn't having a lot of energy because I wasn't consuming anything. And you don't really eat much in Vegas. So it was not eating a lot, not drinking water like I usually do. And just a lot of stuff added up and it hit me. I mean, I didn't go out in Vegas. I didn't go to any parties. And I made sure I got plenty of rest, but I wasn't drinking a lot of water. And it all just came and hit me at once. That's okay. I feel better. Monday, I go to a doctor, get my doctor's note because they won't let me go back to work without a doctor's note. And then I'll be at work until Friday. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm taking Friday off, Thursday and Friday off, and going to the Great American Outdoor Show.
And that'll be the second weekend of it. It started this weekend.
yes, it started this weekend. I'll go for the last couple of days because it is what 100,000 over 100,000 people come in during the week. I think it's close to 200,000 people come in, and Thursday I might be able to see many things and actually get some video. And I try to do it again Friday, and then it just determined whether I'm going to stick around for the weekend or come back home. Uh, depends on how much stuff I get. But it's smaller than Shot Show. I can speak to more reps, and I've already seen what's hot, what people actually want to hear about, from Shot. So that gives me a better idea of what people want to see again or questions they have about what was that shot.
Kind of nice, I'm sure, because you get to catch all the stuff you might have missed at Shot too, if it's there.
Oh yeah, definitely, because I didn't know what everyone else wanted, and I knew what I wanted. Understand me going to Shot Show isn't about so much about me seeing new stuff, part of it, but much of it is actually meeting the owners of the companies or the actual media personnel and marketing personnel I'll be dealing with when I'm asking for donations and asking for samples and swag and everything else to help 2A4E earn money. So that's Shot Show. Shot Show was straight number one business for 2A4E and sponsorships, and then number two, the gun content that we'll use on, the podcast I'm on.
So we got a couple of people joining us out there, Snobs out there, and Mike White. If anybody else, well, we got a lot more people out there if we can tell from the numbers, but there's only two people saying anything. You've already done.
It's good seeing Snob.
You get to see
Saw
him in
Snob in
person.
Vegas.
Yeah.
Yep.
We only barely seen each other the one time, I think, right?
Yeah, I was moving a lot slower, so I was in a lot less places than I was on a scooter.
But normally we would at least see each other a couple of times. But whenever I seen you that first time, I was like, okay, well, we'll see each other again. And then we didn't.
And we didn't, which is surprising. But what happened is, for me, look, my knees didn't hurt at all, but there was a lot of walking. I have lost weight. I was in better shape physically, but it was still tiring. So what I did was something different. I actually went to Caesars and stayed at Caesars the first day at that expo. Excuse me, not the first day, but you know what I mean. I did a day pretty much in each part of the venue.
Yeah, instead of
So
trying
I
to
did
walk
that.
from here to there to here to there all the time, like just stay in one place and walk it.
Yep. So that's what I did. It worked out really well because of I got to speak to people that I've actually built relationships with over time. And I think we'll be getting a lot better results in 2025 than we did in 2024. And every year we pick up more yeses, more positives, more things, not only for the podcast, but for 2A4E. And best case scenario, I'll be looking at a large influx of swag that we can actually raffle off, not only at our events, which helps troops tremendously, but swag that we can raffle off online with the Patreon and various other ways we can raffle it off and actually raise money throughout the year. So that's the goal, and I think I accomplished that much.
So you already did the Tuesday show, and then have you done any other Shot shows, wrap ups or anything?
No, because zero energy. Really, I had none. I was going to start the paperwork for the 501c3. You know how many times I've got slapped in the face with my phone because I was trying to do things online and just nodded off while I was doing it. It's like, yeah, let me get this slap. Ow. What time is it? Oh, it's 4 hours later. And that just happened continually. But we did, you know how it is after Shot Show. There's a plethora of stuff. I mean, I was so tired I didn't even go through my pictures and video until today. And I'm noticing a trend at Shot Show this year. We're in time machine, bro. Um, it's nothing but tactical lever actions and 1911 derivatives.
I
It's
mean,
like a
there's
small
definitely a lot
proportion.
of that. And I don't know if it's like we just don't have a taste for anything else, or they already tooled up to make that kind of stuff, so they're going to keep doing it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know what it was, but that I was well. I guess what I was asking is, so you've done a couple of shows. I was going to say, is there anything that you learned in any of the shows that you either were in or that you watched, maybe that that you might want to go check out at Great American that you missed at SHOT Show?
Yeah. Okay. I'll say it. When I was there speaking to the cult media rep, I asked her, or marketing rep, what was the big thing in cult? And it's they put an optic on a 1911, and they put optics on some of their snake guns, their pythons, and things like that. And I looked at her like, okay, thank you. And then she introduced me to the CZ guy, and I talked to him, and I asked him what was new, and he showed me a new CZ Sport that they released. I thought that was cool, but it was just for competition. But he showed me a couple of things, and I was a little more interested in that than Colt. Well, if Colt does usually have a booth, which is hilarious because Colt has one, but CZ doesn't. Colt's going to be at the Great American, and I think I'll look at their optics ready revolver more. But it's like it's kind of hard to get excited about something that Taurus has already done. You know what I mean? With their Toro revolvers and their executive series revolvers. So I'm going to look at Colt because I think it deserves a shot, and I think people really want to see that. And I'm also going to look at Walter, and I'm going to force everybody to pay more attention to Diamondback with the SDR self defense revolver. They put out a 3 inch, and they also put out a 9 millimeter version of the self defense revolver. I wasn't really impressed with the 9, but I'm sure some people will be, and I think that's great. And I'm going to try to get them to send me one. But the 3 inch looks like the Smith and Wesson Model 60 married that Kimber revolver, the K6, with the 3 inch barrel. It looks like a combination of those two. I shot it at the range and went 6 for 6 with the gun I hadn't even dry fired on. It looked like a reduced size IPSC target at 25 yards. And that's crazy because I only shot double action only. And I was able to just ring it, 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 click. And I was like, holy crap, this gun made me look good. Let's reload this and see if I can do it again. And I did it again. Um, it's really easy to shoot. It's really got a great trigger, great sight picture because it actually has real sights on it. And for the price of $800, I think it's something we should look at if you're interested at all in a revolver, especially a 3 inch. And because of how small it is, I think it's a good concealed carry piece if you're somebody that'll carry a 6 shooter. So that's what I'm going in with. And of course, people want to see video on that RXM from Ruger, the Ruger Glock, Gen 3 Glock. But I've already done a video of that from We Shoot and I actually have it posted to my Instagram because I did that before I even left. I mean, when it first came out, I was on it.
I was going to ask about the uh, Great American Show. Do they have like any kind of range things associated with it? I thought they did one year.
No, they didn't. I was actually trying to put something together for one of them in the range. I was working with the NRA ILA, and the range I tried to work with said something corny that made me realize I may not want to work with a person that had that attitude. And that's the first time that ever actually happened to me in over 10 years of doing this. Or in 10 years of doing this, I met somebody whose range I didn't really want to use. And But I tried to put something together, but I don't remember them ever having a range day from off the top of my head.
Because I think the issue is they're nowhere near anything, right? Like the thing that I think I remember, I don't remember if it was you talking about doing one, but it was very far away. And, but I thought I remember him doing one, and that was sort of the response is like, well, that was a whole like day adventure to do that, and not, you couldn't do almost both. You'd have to like show up for an extra day to do the range. But
Yeah, it's crazy.
it's also 9 days when that was or when it was going to be. It was probably on a weekend.
And for me to do something like diversity shoot, it would make sense because you have the gun companies there, they have the guns there, they have the reps there. It would be a good break from just sitting in the dang farm center, you know. I mean, but the only indoor range I know near Harrisburg actually burned down, so
Too
it's
bad.
kind of out.
A long time ago or recently?
It recently burned down. I was actually had a conversation about it at SHOT. It is what it is. You know what I mean? I don't know how much business you can get in a place that has good gun laws and lots of property. Remember, you're not in Philly. You're in Harrisburg, which is a lot more country. It's not as urban as Philly. Philly has, you know, Philly Gun Club. It has a couple of ranges in Philly or right outside of Philly. Harrisburg is not like that. Totally different environment, totally different clientele. You have people that can shoot on their property. You have a lot of hunting. You have a lot of camouflage there just walking around. So yeah, there's less of a need for an indoor range. And the other range, yeah, I was just thinking about what's near Harrisburg for a range. Not much. I mean, you're driving a couple of hours to get to an indoor range from Harrisburg, and that's cute and all when you have a range like we do in Vegas for SHOT, you know, and you can have what hundreds of
Awesome.
vendors. I don't even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And take buses to it, or have buses take people to it by the dozens and hundreds.
Yeah, that's gigantic.
They could do something where you take like a pickup truck, like the semi trailer. I've seen semi trailers that are shooting ranges. Maybe something like that where they shooting range there.
Yeah, that would be like shoot like a girl has their rig set up. I don't know anybody else who does, but they're not doing live fire inside. There are a few places to do live fire, but that's not shoot like a girl. If I could do something like that, it would be awesome, and I'd do it suppressed because I'd be in a place like Pennsylvania, and that's a great way to introduce people to it.
It is really, and you can do it with just 22s because it would still be interesting just to, be able to shoot or what.
You can do 22s. You can do 9mm sub. I mean, because doing 9mm sub can bring more manufacturers in, and they can show their products. But 22s are great too. So yeah, hopefully I'll be seeing Chris from the 740 because he should be in Harrisburg. Hopefully, sometime during GOA. Don't excuse me, not GOA. What is it? Great American GAOS.
Technically, it's NRA now, still, right?
Yeah, NRA owns it. And also going down to Florida on the 20th of February to their Second Amendment event.
You're not doing Arizona this year. Now the GOA took it over.
Oh, GOA took over the ones in AZ?
Yeah, I think it used to be the Motorcycle Club and Cheryl Todd, and then now it's GOA Freedom Summit of Arizona or something it's called. So GOA now.
All right, they're stepping up. I kind of like that, man. And this is a time. I mean, we've spoken about this before.
Yeah, but I don't like them taking my thing. I like that our thing was made a motorcycle club, and it was, you know what I mean? There was just sort of a separate thing. Like a motorcycle club gives enough of a shit about guns to do a gun rally. But yeah, I mean, I don't care. GOA's going to throw money at it. They got money to throw at it, I guess.
Yeah, let them do it, man.
I'd rather do that than keep going than have it end. But I don't know that it was ending, but I don't know what happened. I
I
don't
see
know
what you're saying because we've spoken about it before. It's kind of like having a pro to a billionaire supporting you. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
well, now
exactly.
you're beholden to them. Yeah, now you're beholden to them and their
Or you
schedule
just
and
have to
their
wait for
agenda.
their whim, if they go off like, oh, now I care about elephants, and now it's like now you're just left behind. Like it's a kind of a
Yep.
what is that called? Anyway, you're dependent on their opinion or their interest. But in this case, I just like I said, like I just thought it was neat that we had a rally going for so long in Arizona, and I've been to a lot of rallies, and our rally is decent. It's not the best necessarily, but it's not the worst for sure, and
Hmm.
it's always getting better, and involved a lot of people. Like a lot of people would show up at it, compared to some other rallies. Some rallies are just gun people, and this rally was gun people and a little bit. So I thought
Yep.
that was cool. But and who knows what the GOA will do? It's just that I like the idea that it was kind of grassroots, I guess, or if I don't know if that's the right word, but just kind of without any outside influence. Because GOA hasn't done shit for Arizona. It's not like they have roots here or nothing. If anything, Second Amendment Foundation got Lee retired here or something. So at least he's here all the time, and they've done the gun rights policy conference here a number of times. But they don't spend money on
Oh,
shit like this. In fact, Second Amendment Foundation doesn't like rallies. Alan has said that he doesn't think they're worthwhile and he doesn't like them. GOA likes
hey,
them, now. Like they've not liked them in
yeah.
the past. They've shit on them before, but now they like them. So whatever.
Hey, we've been around for a minute, and Alan has been around 5 times the length
As
of
long as
time
we've been
I've been around.
alive, dude. He's
Yeah.
seriously, the Second Amendment Foundation is almost as old as us.
Hmm.
So, yeah, he was already in college when we were being born and started that organization when we were crawling around still. Well, maybe
Yep.
not crawling around, but we weren't driving or nothing yet.
Yeah. So I'm looking at him as, yeah, he's been through his things and he's seeing what works and doesn't work for him. And, I totally understand. Let someone else carry that load. He's seen it already. And good on him. Oh, okay. That makes sense. I didn't know John lived out there, but all right, cool.
I don't know if he lived here. Is that the suppressor guy?
No, no. John is actually running GOA, at least GOA's events and podcast. And that's what John does.
Oh, then that John. For some reason I was thinking the guy that started Gem Tech. Different guy.
Mm-mm. Yeah, so he was over at the ammo place and, he put the thing together and invited me to Tennessee. And those guys got together and invited me down to Florida. So can't wait to go down there and actually speak. They're doing a couple of, what do you call it, panels, and I'm on one of them. I'm on the, what do you call it, advocacy panel. So I look forward to answering questions people have while I'm down there.
So I see what you're saying then. If the GOA dude is in Phoenix, then that's an association with Phoenix, I guess.
Yeah, heck, I mean, I run events. I run events in the state I live in. So if you're running GOA and you're putting on events for GOA, it's a layup to do one near home and not have to travel.
Yeah. Well, you've been to it. You've been to the Arizona
Hmm.
one. So the booths or the organizations just set up little booths. So nobody owned it. That was, I guess, the other thing about it is that it was just an au naturel. Like it was just a pure rally. Like, the one in 19, you went to that one too. That one was unique in so many ways because nobody owned it. There was no associations at all, political or organizational or state or any what's the word, like topic or air. We weren't there
Yeah.
for NFA. We weren't there for gun rights. We were there for just the Second Amendment and what it means. So I thought that was pretty neat, and that's sort of the thing that Arizona had. I never thought about it until I started seeing all the branding with GOA, and they call it like the GOA Summit or something, and it just sounds like if You
Yeah.
didn't, if you just looked at it for the first time, you'd think, oh, okay, this is the 35th annual GOA summit, as if GOA's been doing it for 35 years. But in reality, it's GOA's first year taken over. And like I say, this motorcycle club did it. Just some old guys driving around on Harleys. And most of them are vets. I mean, we all know that. Or sometimes police or something. But, or just gang people. I don't think too many of the people in those kind of clubs are gang people, though. But you know what I mean? I just like the idea that it was unbranded and it was just happening. And pretty much anybody could speak. And they had a pretty good random assortment of people. And then once Cheryl started helping out more, it got larger and larger. And we just won't have that anymore. Now it'll be another GOA entity. And GOA doesn't go, hey, we picked it up after 21 years. GOA says it's our thing. You know, that's just their branding.
Yeah.
But,
So I ran into Sheriff Mike Lamb. Is that his name?
yeah. Well, or Mark.
So
I think Mark.
that's Mark Lamb?
Something.
Anyway,
something.
I ran into him because Mike Lamb's another dude. The gun industry hated him for a while, and then he disappeared. Anyway, Sheriff Lamb was at SHOT, and I actually ended up walking up beside him, and I relayed my perspective of speaking after him during that speech in Arizona. And he was laughing hysterically at my story. I was like, yeah, it was really great. You know, walking up, I was really confident that I was going to do well, even though I didn't write a speech. I was like, that's okay. I'll just go out to the local sheriff. How bad could it be? And he just started laughing. I was like, little did I know you're going to announce a U.S. Senate run. And the crowd went wild. And he started laughing. He's like, I remember. Yeah, everybody loves him. And then I came up on stage and I was like, if you ever wondered what it was like to be the guy that spoke after Martin Luther King made his I Have a Dream speech, ask me about it. I'm that guy tonight. And the crowd laughed, and so did the sheriff. So I asked him about the run, and he said he ended up losing a three-way battle for the seat for the Republican nomination. I didn't know that. But nice enough dude. He was on his way to do an interview with someone. So he took off, and I went the other way. But it was nice meeting him. I'm assuming he's retired now.
Well, he's Phoenix, so I don't know. But so I don't pay attention anyway. But he's not my sheriff, so I don't pay attention to that sheriff's up there. But or he might not be. Is he? No, he's Maricopa maybe. So the big ass county between our county and Phoenix County. I don't remember.
That's what I was told. That's the name of it.
When he went for Senate, I think he did retire because I think I've heard interviews with the guy that replaced him, who ran after him and won unopposed, or won hands down, I guess. But I don't know if that means he went back to being a sheriff or not after he was a Senate. So I just don't know. He's had lots of things happen in his life that make him beloved to the state. He's definitely, you hear people who invest their life to help others. He's definitely invested more than anybody, more than a lot of other people into, serving others. That being said, we'll keep going. So I put out there, if anybody's got any questions about SHOT, a lot of people that are out there went to SHOT. So if they want to just say stuff, how long do you think it's appropriate to do SHOT Show stuff? Are you the type that says get it all over with as soon as possible and then move on with life? Or do you do the philosophy of trickling it out throughout the year?
Do what's hot right now, and then you can revisit. I mean, everybody just wants the highlights now. If they want in depth, there's plenty of that. You can go in depth later, but understand some of the stuff may come out, and you can use that to actually put your SHOT Show stuff back out there. So if you put it out as a reel, if you put it out as a short, that's great. If you want to do long form, do it. But there's nothing wrong with revisiting your SHOT footage or your interviews when the thing comes out. If you don't get it, you know what I mean? If you didn't get the new handgun, new rifle, and it's all a buzz, re-release your SHOT Show stuff. Just put it out in a different way, a different soundtrack, different cuts. I like what Chris does. I mean, he cuts his stuff up. I was actually studying it, going, maybe I need to do that. Just do some cuts that actually focus on different parts of the firearm without saying anything and throw 30 seconds into that. So I'll be working on that. Um, I've had a whole week to actually look at things like that. Um, I don't know if anybody's been paying attention to my stuff on Instagram. What am I, SimonSaysTrain on Instagram? I put some stories together and just dropped some video of me handling the firearm up close, different guns. And then today I did a melody of 2011s from different manufacturers, and I put the same song, Tom's Diner, just each one is a different version of Tom's Diner. Like each 2011 is a different version of Staccato's 2011. So I have everything from Gerson's or EAA, their 2011 to Versa's 2011, Nighthawk Customs 2011, Apollo, was it Apollo 11? Live Free Armory's Apollo 11 2011s. And I just put it together with a different version of Tom's Diner. I thought that was different, mainly because they're the same damn guns, just done different ways.
No, it's smart too because, well, I'm a fan of shot all year long. I don't think shot is perishable.
Mhm.
It's a big event, costs a lot of money. A lot of people put a lot of effort into it. And I mean, you can have whatever opinion you want of it, but just pushing it out throughout the year, especially like what you're saying in different ways, is a way to keep it out there, because just because it happens in 1 week doesn't mean that the information is perishable, or I should say, doesn't mean all information is perishable.
Well,
Like
if you
you're
hit shot,
selfies and shit that is kind of perishable.
well, if you hit shot, right, you hit shot show, but you live too far away from Great American Outdoor, you can still put shot stuff out at the same time others are putting the Great American Outdoor Show stuff out there. Hell, use that hashtag if you have to. Throw Shot Shows hashtag in and Great American Outdoor hashtag. Ride the freaking wave. And then if you make it to NRA, you have new footage. And if you don't, put out the same stuff when NRA comes out. I mean, some of that stuff will overlap. Ride it out till the wheels fall off. Plus, it's new. Somebody hasn't seen it yet.
That's the thing.
I mean, that's
We go to SHOT Show and I think we go, oh, you know what? I'm sick of it because I've been there for a week and I've seen everything and I've seen everybody else hit everything I missed. So it's done. But yeah, I agree with you. Not most 99% of the people in the world have not been to it, and they probably also haven't seen all the stuff you've seen from it.
actually, I was over at Wooks, the wood furniture. They make wood furniture for modern firearms. Also make pump action shotguns and stuff. And one of the firearms they had was a ranch rifle from Foxtrot Mike that was gold plated. So as I'm sitting there looking at it and I'm taking video of it because it is very pretty and very well done, the neighbor of the guy that actually did the work showed up and was talking to me about it. And I thought that was pretty cool that the guy was really proud of it. So I took the video and I posted it up in my stories, and he saw it and actually started a conversation with me. And I think we conversed back and forth over like an hour about the work he put in. And I think it's called the 1911 Vault. That's the name of his business, and that's also the name of his Instagram. And you can see the work he did and does. And I was pretty cool because I've met a new source, you know what I mean, of content. And I just thought it was really cool that there was hey, I'm talking to the dude that lives down the street from you right now. And he didn't make it out because he said his flight was canceled 4 different times. And as anybody that grew up, what was the name of the show? Final Destination. if you grew up when those movies were out, you're like, wait a minute, my flight was canceled 4 times. Yeah, I'm not going. That's enough of a sign. I'm not going. And that's what he did. He pulled out and didn't go.
Because of weather, I guess.
Yeah, he said because someone else told me because of weather. I didn't know what the weather was like in Texas going out the shot, but I'm assuming it was because of snow. I heard it was snowing there. I escaped Jersey. I escaped Jersey right ahead of the storm, which was hilarious because I got to Vegas at noon. Yeah, I got to Vegas noon on Sunday, and I went to the Virgin. Is that the name of the hotel? Virgin Hotel, and they had the game on at the bar, and it was Philly playing in the snow, and I'm like, I guess I missed that. Like, when did that happen? And I guess it started like right after I got on the plane.
What's neat about flying is you get in an airplane and probably fly right above the weather, right? Like go wherever you're going and don't even know what you're passing.
Yeah, I flew out of Newark, and it was a straight shot to Vegas. So, took off, and 5 hours later, I'm in Vegas. I think we took off at like 6 in the morning or something.
Oh my goodness, dude! It takes me 6 hours to drive, so we're sitting in a vehicle almost the same amount of time, but you're hauling ass in an airplane the whole time, and I'm only going probably an average of 60 miles an hour. I mean, there's a chunk where I'm going 75, but I'm also driving through Phoenix and shit, so it's probably chunks where I'm going like 25. That's crazy.
Oh, actually, I just thought of it. No, I think I took off later. I think they took off at 10. I think. Took off at 10, 5 hours later. I'm landing in Vegas at 1 o'clock. But it was great. I was packed in the back seat between two dudes. It was really, it was really uncomfortably P Diddy tight back there in the back of the plane. Because going to shot is always like that. If I had to, it's just a bunch of people from New York, New Jersey, usually, and all of them are somehow in the business of shot. Which, the city of Newark probably having a stroke that all those pro gun people with carry permits more than likely are there. I actually had a conversation with some of the airport personnel last SHOT Show and invited them to come out to, not last SHOT Show, no, when I flew down to Orlando in February to go to Ambassador Academy. I actually had a conversation and invited the airport personnel that were helping me with my bags to the diversity shoot. Sadly, they didn't go, but I personally invited them to actually come to the next diversity shoot, what was held the day I got back from Ambassador Academy. Oh man, did Chris get sick from SHOT Show too? So I got some raw. I got some raw honey here.
Sick. Tony's the only person I know of that got sick this year. I didn't get that sick. It sounds like he got sick, but Chris got sick.
Yeah, I got my partners there from the podcast actually got food poisoning, and then one of them, Chad, got home and got sick. Like the food poison was still in the system, and then as soon as he started feeling better from that, blammo, SHOT Show cooties caught him. Yeah, they went to one of the parties. I avoided the parties this year just because I was worried about my knee going out at any time. I really didn't want to drop $78 a day on a freaking scooter.
So Rich is saying he got sick also. I'm curious to see what kind of sick they got, if it was stomach type throwing up and that kind of thing, or if it was the fatigue and just don't have any will to get up out of bed. And
Yeah,
then
that's the worst, dude.
I
Because if
guess
I
I'm
had energy, yeah, fatigue. He's got the fatigue too. Because if I wasn't tired, I could have done a lot from the bed. You know what I mean? But it's like I'm awake, I'm waking up. I'm awake, I'm waking up over and over again.
what's URI?
I don't know. I have
Um,
no idea.
but then Chris is saying he's got a bad cold.
Yeah, I mean, it's the sneezing and upper respiratory infection. Actually, yep, that's what I had too. That's why I sound like I
Coughing.
do.
Oh, I think
Coughing,
you lost your.
and clearing the pipes out. Yeah.
That's a lot of times. I guess that is the type of thing people will get, like the cough. Sometimes I forgot about that. People will get a cough from it, and that makes sense. Shaking a lot of hands and having people cough on you and sneeze at you. I didn't
Yeah.
see any masks really. I mean, there must have been some, but
I've only
not
saw personnel from there wearing masks.
from where.
I saw Vegas people wearing masks. You know, the people that work the shot show.
Yeah, that's true. Like the people, like maybe doing the garbage cans and doing like the
Hmm.
up watered things or something like that would work. I don't know what to call that. Like the people that just work for the facility, though. That's true, and they probably do though all the time, like no matter what. Because wouldn't you if you worked around a
Yeah.
convention like that? Yeah, I think I would.
Oh, heck yeah. I just remember the black lady who was at the top of the escalators going to the media room. She wore one all week.
Oh yeah, that's true. Some of those people did, but again, they're standing there getting coughed on and sneezed at by billions of people for the whole shift. Do you think those people that stand there at the end of the escalators or that hold signs and tell you stuff, do you think they're at risk of being AI'd? You know, just having an AI thing tell you whatever they're telling you?
Oh, probably. I mean, you ignore them. How much money are you going to put into the AI for us to ignore that?
That's what I'm thinking. But well, the people that do ask them, yeah, I mean that's what they're there for, right? It's just that
Hmm.
they don't really need to be a person. It's just it's probably cheaper to have a person than a sign, or more useful to have a person than a sign. It's probably cheaper to have a sign, but some kind of AI sign would probably be just as useful as a person. And now you don't have to hire somebody to. I would say that's a pretty mind numbing job, right? Standing at the end of the escalator for an entire day. Plus, they had to do it for
Yeah,
4 days, probably.
4 or 5 days of just standing there saying same thing. Media floor is number 4. Number 5 is product
Bathrooms over
something.
here. Yep, down
Yeah.
is down, up is up. Yep, down is still down.
It's so true. But okay, I mean, I'm going to criticize Shots phone app until that AI gets better than that phone app.
Was for me. That was horrible for me. Did it work for you?
Yeah, I mean, a Rand McNally folding paper map would have worked just as well without
Yeah.
continually telling me it was updating every time I powered up to try to find something.
Yep. And I never got it to show me a map. Like everybody else I've seen over people's shoulders, them using it, and it's like you see a map and everything. I don't know if I'm pushing the wrong buttons or what, but I pretty much got a gray screen. I would type in the name of a company and it would tell me the
Hmm.
booth number and then a
Uh-huh.
gray screen behind it. So evidently my updates didn't work or my phone's too old or something, but mine was, I wouldn't say useless, but it was on a scale of 1 to 10. It was only a 1 because all I ever got out of it was a booth number. So I was back to, like, I didn't have to ask somebody the booth number, but I still had to look up in the air and look at those signs. And you have to walk like a
Hmm.
half a block before you figure out which way the signs are headed. And then you're like, of course,
Hmm.
you always walk half a block the wrong way. But anyway, but I only had to do that one time. So I really didn't use it. So I'm not bitching too bad because I only needed it to find Charlie and then to find this other booth and maybe one other time. And then that's it. I don't really, I know where everything is, or I know when I can ask somebody, what's it next to? And then I know where it is. I've been there too
Yeah, I
many
wish I
times.
was over it. I just realized a couple things. I wish that I was not sick because I could interview, speaking of Charlie's, I could interview Charlie Brown. uh, for his run for the NRA board. I mean, I've had multiple conversations with him, and we've actually talked about the NRA. Hell, 2 years ago, we hung out at Great American Outdoor Show. Excuse me, I hung out in High Point's booth and actually talked to Charlie Brown, who's the owner of High Point and MKS Supply and all of that. He's running for NRA board of directors as a sign-in candidate, and he's on one of the Reform Party that wants to change the NRA. So I've actually spoken to him in real life conversationally about how the NRA needs to change. I'd love to actually do an interview with him about it. And I probably can, just a phone call, you know what I mean? But to have him at the Great American Outdoor Show and actually have the conversation, I think would be pretty cool. Uh, the other thing I saw at the Great American Outdoor Show that actually upset me was down in the basement. One is an American company under attack by, anti-gun forces, and I think it's called like Billy. What is it called? Billy Goat
Yeah,
Outdoor.
Mountain Billy Goat Club.
Yep.
Or something like that.
Yep. Yeah. Mountain Billy Goat Gun
Maybe
something.
it's gun.
Anyway.
Maybe, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Lab.
They made something called a JR-15, which is a 22, and they got attacked by Gavin Newsom and as selling guns to children. And they actually said selling guns, not marketing, but selling guns to children, as if you can do that. And attempted to put them out of business multiple times. And it's a family business out of Utah. So I'm trying to support them. And I'll probably put some more video out of them because that's bull crap. And the other one is Lionheart Industries, which makes a Americanized modern version of the Korean service pistol for years, which is a hammer fired metal 9mm double stack pistol. And when you rack the slide like you would a SIG, 226 or something like that, it leaves the hammer in single action, and you can push it with your finger forward, and it's almost what they call a triple action. You push the hammer forward, and it goes kind of to its own version of half cock. So it's drop safe and everything, but it's no longer in double action, and it's not a single action. It's a long, soft double action pull and fires. Well, that company it hit the market at the wrong time, 2018, and the world wasn't ready to be staccatoed yet. Staccato took over and became, the new owners of Staccato took over in 2018 of STI, and didn't start marketing hard until 2020, and that's when that hammer fired double stack 9mm thing took off. And I think this company got left behind, but I think it's a good idea, and I like it. But they're pretty much closing down. They got bought out by another business. It's still, what's the name of the company I just said? Lionheart Industries, but they're selling survival fire starter stuff now. And they only have a few of those firearms left they're trying to sell as the company's closing, which I think really sucks.
Did you say they sold the gun to somebody, or they just stopped selling the gun?
They just, the website is still up, Lionheart Industries. You can check them out, and you can check the firearm out. But they got purchased by a company that does like fire starters for survival, different tins, different fire starters, magnesium sticks, all that thing. That was their entire booth. They didn't even have the firearms displayed, but one of the guys did bring two display models of the firearm, and they got it left-handed and right-handed. And he actually had them in the booth, and we had a conversation. I got some video of it, but it was mostly just talking about it. And he was like, it was a swing and a miss, dude. It's like you came out too early, and then by the time the 2011 started taking off, they'd already, dropped, and they didn't have the gas and I guess the budget and everything to push it, which really sucks because people were buying up any damn thing in 2020, 2021. And somehow they missed out on that.
Timing, right? You can't see something. Well, if they would have seen it coming, they would have waited a year or whatever, or stayed in business for another year. But the thing is, I know what you're saying, but just because there was a lot of people buying stuff doesn't necessarily mean they would have been successful, but it does probably mean they would have been successful for sure.
Yeah, but that any other time when there's a run like that, yeah. But man, we had what, a 2 to 3 year run of insanity. But
Well, and
hey,
it
you're
was
right.
like, I need to buy a second gun, and I already have some idea of what I want. It was, I need to buy a gun, and I don't care what it is, and I'll take whatever's available. And I'm new to guns, so I don't care what it is. And that's the main thing with some of these things that are, I don't want to say new, but like, just whatever, doing something different than the norm. Like most
Yep.
of the time, that stuff's like your third or fourth gun, unless you never bought a gun before and there's a relatively slim pickings, then you're buying that. Or at least it's getting sold. Let's put it that way. Somebody's buying it.
Yeah. I thought it was cool because I know the guys from Bursa, and because I've met them. Obviously, actually, I met the guys from Bursa in 2020 at Mike Sedini's house when I went there and actually hung out with him for like half a day, and I didn't know he was with Bursa. And then when I met him at SHOT Show when they made the 1911, we were actually talking about that. And then, yeah, sadly, um, we were talking about the 1911 last year that Bursa was making. And then I met them again at Kevin Dixie's training one, and they bought the 1911 Bursa. And then going over there this year, they not only had multiple 45 caliber single stack 1911s, they had their new double stack 1911, which they call the MX1, the 2 MX1, which is Roman number for 2011. I don't know how they're going to pronounce it, but that's what's on the side of the slide. The Roman number for 2011.
You're not allowed to use 2011 because of staccato.
Yeah, Staccato has that as a trademark, which is cool.
But you're saying MM, so they like that, or 2M.
Yep.
Okay.
2M.
I mean the number 2 and then an M, or just 2 M's?
Yes, the number 2, then M.
Oh, okay. Because say then it's not really Roman numerals, and they can say, "Hey, we're making up a thing." Like you can't say. I don't think they can own the number. They can only own the 1911, 2011 concept, right?
Mm-hmm. And plus, they can go, "Hey, what are you talking about? Name our pistol is 2MZ."
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, there's no one's going to conflate those unless you say it. If you say it the same way, that's about the only way you could get it to say it or to be similar.
So somebody was interested in, Mike White. All right, cool. I slid over to the Beretta booth, but it was so freaking busy, and I like Berettas. I want to check out. You know what I just got interested in? 380 semi-automatic pistols that are close to being full size. So like the new Beretta 80X in 380. I find that interesting. The even smaller Bodyguard 2.0 in 380 from Smith& Wesson. Who else has a 380? Oh, and even the now canceled or discontinued Glock 25, which is a Glock 19 size 380 from Glock. I because of what I do, because some of the women and well, it's mostly women. I'm not going to front because of the age groups that I deal with. Have a hard time either racking the slide or dealing with the recoil of even a Glock 19. Now, again, it's not many, but it's some. Because understand, I mean, I had women in their 70s, 80s, and 90s in my event. So that's a different world than the dude who always wanted to join the military but never did, but is still a healthy young, 20, 30, or 40 something. These are women that don't have any experience with firearms. And if I can make it easier for them, more gun to fill the hand, heavier gun to take over the recoil, wider gun to spread the recoil throughout their hand and wrist, I think is a good thing. And that Glock 25, which is actually a 380, that's the exact same size as the Glock 19, is a good option, in my opinion. And also the heavier Beretta 80X, which is an all metal version of a shrunk down M9 that the military had. I think this gives them a lot of options that they probably didn't have before, and I'm liking it because some of that retro feel is actually beneficial. Everything doesn't have to be the thinnest, lightest weight gun because that doesn't work out, and physics is still a thing. If you make the gun smaller and lighter than a 9, but it's still shooting at 380, it's still going to recoil, uh, commiserate to its size. But if you have a little heavier gun, a little bigger gun that they can get both hands with a great grip on it, it makes it easier. And some of these ladies are using it for home defense. And with the correct ammo, I'm sorry, but that 380 has been used as a police firearm all over the world outside of the United States for decades. Still effective when you put the rounds where they need to go.
Well, I know that the 380 semi-autos can be good for the little ladies like you're talking about, or people that have like very low hand strength or no dexterity. But I think also people that have hobbled themselves by shooting 9mm for any length of time have lost all their wrist strength and hand muscles, so they could probably live with the 380.
Well, 100%. I mean, you have that. What if you don't use it, you lose it, and they're definitely not using their full hand grip strength when they're shooting the 9. Unlike real calibers like 40 and 45.
Exactly. Mike White is saying,
So
I wish I could get hands on the Beretta 32X, but it's not on the roster in California. So is that the one you're talking about, or is that the
no,
different one?
I was talking about the 80. The 32 is the small. I'm assuming what they called a Bobcat back in the day, the one with the little tiny barrel.
Oh, okay.
I saw that. I never handled it, and I wish I did, but I don't think Beretta is gonna be. Beretta's not gonna be at the Great American Outdoor Show, which sucks.
Ford Scott TUI in my 32 Tomcat. What is TUI?
Nice.
Trunicated? No.
Yep, Tomcat. All right. But TUI is what the frick? I know what it is too. I feel like such a ditz.
I can't think of it. It's an ammo thing, right?
It's the ammo from them, yeah. And I've seen it used, and I think it's effective. I think it's a solid projectile, if I remember correctly. I think Suits was using it in the video I watched. Tumble upon impact. There you go. Thanks.
Oh.
Thanks,
So
Mike.
it's like ball ammo. It's ball ammo with a little bit of a cone shape, maybe?
I think so. I'm using everything right now, so I can't look it up. Yeah, I checked out the Bodyguard 2.0. I never fired it, but I manipulated the heck out of it. I tactically fondled it until it got really uncomfortable for the people in the gun store. I really like the way that feels. I'm actually going to talk to them over at Smith about sending me one out for diversity shoots because of the way it feels. And I'll probably look for exclusively a 380 ammo supplier for that because I think it's important. I really think it's important to cater to people that get ignored by the firearms industry. Look, I ain't here to be the next Garand Thumb. I'm here to do what I do, which is introducing, you know, people to the firearms. And I have to do it with something they can use. I have to do it with something they can use, they can shoot, and it doesn't have to be explained to them that you're doing something wrong. I'm trying to make firing a gun nothing but a positive experience at diversity shoots, and I think that would help having something like the Bodyguard 2.0. Again, these bigger, fuller 380s, but also having a 380 the size of a bodyguard that she can carry or he can carry. Because again, I've been blessed to have people of all ages, and I've had significant number of people over the age of 60, considerably over the age of 60 at my events, and they want carry permits too. They understand they are in a vulnerable population. They understand that people look at them as targets, and for them to have a firearm at home that they can defend themselves, that's a little bigger, that you could put a light on. They just have to learn to use it. And because I'm hosting the ranges that have their own training personnel, these people are encouraged to actually train at the places I've introduced them to. And they've already broken ice because they've gone to the events now. And because I have 5 different places I'm hosting this year, they're pretty central in northern New Jersey. And so it's easy for you to get to no matter where you are. And you can take a low light class and learn how to run a flashlight on the front of your handgun, even if you're an older person. Just take your time. And you can also do one-on-one instruction, so it
Yeah,
doesn't even have to be a class.
low light class should also teach you how to do a gun and a light, because I like a gun like attached to the light, but or
Mhm.
attached to a gun. But that's not the only way to run it. You can also have a gun in one hand and your light in the other hand or whatever. And
Well, the low light classes, the low light classes I've taken have been both ways. You know what I mean?
that's all I'm saying. You can teach you both. So, because
Mhm.
some people I know they hear like a light on a gun and they go, "Oh, I hate that." So I'm not going to take a low light class if they teach
Mhm.
that. But you're really going to learn just as much flashlight in one hand, gun in the other hand, as you will anything else.
Yep,
And
and
you want to
that's
know,
what's funny to me.
knowing everything
What was
is the
that?
way to go, and doing what you feel like, but know everything.
So when I took the long gun class, obviously that was how to run a long gun. You know what I mean? How to run a long gun with a flashlight. But when I took the handgun class, it was actual low light class, how to run a flashlight and a handgun, the different positions that you can actually use a flashlight and a handgun, how to run the flashlight without pointing a gun at someone, and then how to utilize them both together, how to move off the X, how to get busy, all that stuff. And it's something like any other martial art. You learn the basics and you build upon it, and you can't just take, oh, I took a class this time. It's like, no, no, take a class and then integrate it into how you dry fire or work this thing. You don't have to do it all the time, but you should really do it. Keep it in mind. um, because obviously I took classes in Jersey. I took classes with KD out in Georgia. I took classes in St. Louis. And I've been blessed with that low light thing, but I've gone after it. I've looked for it. When I got to Florida to Ambassador Academy, we did low light scenario training, force on force. All of that is really important if you want to have unconscious competence of a skill. I didn't have to do it all the time, but I knew when I got to Florida at the Ambassador Academy, I knew how to go in and run a flashlight, without having to have the gun pointed at anybody or even out. And then when I did draw the firearm, I was able to manipulate it well with the flashlight in my hand and get hits on someone that I had to shoot at that was only lit up by my flashlight. And I got 5 for 5 on them. And then I moved out of the area. Now, what did catch me off was how to clear a malfunction while I still had threats moving around. And I bluffed my way out of the situation. And that was interesting because I decided to, again, run this like it was a real scenario. And I bluffed my way out of the situation, removed myself from the room, and then called 911. And then when the lights came back up, the instructor there was like, "You had a, what do you call it? Stovepipe." I was like, I was aware I had a stovepipe. I saw it when it happened. But bad guy number 2 went down, but he was still moving. I extracted myself from him, and bad guy number 1 was on his knees because I placed bad guy number 1 on his knees, and I was hoping he didn't hop back up. because then I'd have to drop the flashlight, clear the weapon, and try to mag dump in the bad guy number one if he came for me. And I was prepared to do that, but he was going to get hit in the face with a flying flashlight because
let's say
disoriented. You know what I mean?
let's say you don't have a light on your gun, so you've already
Hmm.
hobbled yourself into having one hand with a gun and one hand with a light, and then you have a
Yep.
malfunction. Now
Yep.
the only proper thing to do is to wing that light up into the air in such a way that it flashes around like a strobe flare, and then clear the malfunction, and then catch that light right away. And that
Oh,
way,
definitely, 100%.
the adversary is startled and disoriented, and you clear your malfunction while they're all startled, and then you get right back into the action.
Oh,
Ideally,
100%.
you're doing some parkour during that. Like you throw it up in the air and then climb up the wall or something, jump up on a railing, clear that malfunction, and then catch the light.
And
And if you,
again, with him, go ahead.
if you come down and do some kind of scissor move around their neck and then leverage around and throw them while you're landing, that's even better.
Well, the important part, though, because it all goes together, but while you're doing the parkour, you have to yell parkour.
Oh yeah, that helps startle them.
Yeah,
And
because they're looking.
what you're doing, because they're like, what is going on?
Why is he speaking French all of a sudden? Parkour, baguettes.
So
And if you want to, quick thing, if you want to see me actually do that scenario I described, you can go to SimonSaysTrain on my Instagram. It's the pinned video that's been up there since February of last year. and you can actually go ahead.
Instagram question. When you're doing Instagram, you can put up a picture, and you can do pictures, but the Instagram doesn't care about pictures anymore. Then you can put up reels, which last for just a while, right? And then you can put up, what's the other one?
Stories that last for 24 hours, and then reels that last just like any other post. And then you can do posts.
Just like a video post, but they show up in your circles, right? But your circles only last, the circles are the reels, and they only last for, the stories, and they only last for 24 hours. So my question is, when I was fiddling around, Amazon made us do shit. I figured out that you can make a story, but then you can put the story into your reels. So you can favorite it into your reels. Do you ever do that? Do you ever use the stories? Because Amazon loves stories, but so that you don't lose them or waste your time, essentially, do you put them into somewhere afterwards?
Nope. But guess what I'm doing with this group of goddamn 2011s? I'm putting them in reels. I'm putting them in reels. The 2011s from my stories are going to go in the reels. Pretty much
Make
tomorrow,
a story
today.
and then turn them into story. Make them a story, turn them into reels.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm putting them together. Only because I got that little stupid idea, and I think it's worth doing again. Oh, I wanted to throw this one out there too. Speaking of American gun companies, did you get down to the basement and see the guys from Ross Martin?
I've never looked at them. I've heard of the company and I've watched their interviews a bunch of times with different people, but I've never even touched them. They look like anyway, they look like some of the first gen polymer guns that were out there to me. So they just look like, I don't know what they were originally. Didn't they come from somebody? Like they bought the design from somebody?
Oh, yeah, I have no idea who they bought from. I've never actually watched them interviewed. I've only talked to them in person.
But anyway, so I never shot them, and I've never played them. So I don't even know. I probably would have if I would have seen their booth. I just didn't. I must have walked right past it. Was it downstairs?
Yeah. So, yep, downstairs by the food court, over in one corner, right by the food court and the wall, as far as you could get away from Timber Creek. Timber Creek was on one side. Ross Martin and Tandem Cross were beside each other. Also with Carnivore Snacks, they were all there, and I actually met everybody at one time. Well, I knew the guys from Ross Martin, and I knew the guys from Tandem Cross. but I got to actually meet the people from Carnivore Snacks because those are the three booths right next to each other. And Ross Martin just dropped a subcompact version of their Glock 19 size pistol, and that's what it looks like to me. Glock 19 with a lot of work done to it. The Ross Martin does, and for a $400 price tag from an American company, I thought was really great. Pretty much they're in the same space as with that Ruger RXM, Glock Gen 3, Glock 19 clone. That's all in the same space for me, but I'd rather buy from a smaller company that's a husband and wife team out of Texas. And they not only did optics cut on their Ross Martin RC1, but they did the optics cut on the smaller one, and they put out comp versions of both, I think. But it is not a Glock clone, even though I conflated it with a Glock clone. And if you actually watch one of the latest videos I just dropped, where I have Glock clones, the Ross Martin is sitting there because I really thought it was a Glock clone, and it is not.
It's a ROST Martin, right?
Yeah, ROST.
I can't remember whose interview. Whenever it was when they first came out, so it was a couple of years now, and they were talking about the design where it came from. Dang, it was it was a company that was made by some military guys, and it lasted, I think it was like 16, 17, and it lasted for a couple of years. It might have been out of Texas also. Like they're out of Texas, right?
Oh, are we talking about something defense, and they went to another company, and then they went to another company?
I don't know. It was definitely there was like a couple of smaller companies that happened, and I don't think any of them stuck around. But this one, I can't remember. I think Clover did an interview with them. That's how I even knew the one company, anything about them. And then I was like, okay, well, new company, but a new company that made a gun without a rail and stuff. Like, okay, like how long will that last in a world where everybody wants rails? This was years ago, so people wanted rails before they wanted optics cuts. And then anyway, so then when that company went, and I think what it was is they were buying a gun from another country. Like they had it made for them from another country. And then I got the impression that Ross Martin came along, bought that patent, bought that gun, whatever you want to call, and then did some changes and then are making it. And I can't remember anymore. When it first came out, I could almost remember the name. But anyhow, they've taken it now and run with it and added whatever you call them, features or upgrades to it. But
yeah, because They're About Me really isn't about anything. They're About Me is a business card. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not like a history of the company or anything.
Yeah, I was hoping for that. But I like the way the gun feels. What was that?
As much as somebody asked him about it, because they were like, hey, it looks a lot like this. And then they're like, oh, yeah, that's because that company went out of business and we bought it from them.
Okay. This is cool. I'm speed reading over here. Actually, from an interview. Oh, damn it. From an article. And I didn't know, because I got along with Chris well. I didn't know he was a jarhead, too. And his wife, Stephanie, is the daughter of the guy that actually bought Springfield Armory back in the day. Like, bought the name. Yeah.
Yep. And that's probably where they got it. They probably were watching somebody import this thing and had a failure importing it. And they were like, oh, yeah, we can import that and do it better. So she's like the daughter of Springfield. Using whatever, she learned growing up as a kid on importing. And just like Springfield took that, what was it called? The something 2000, turned it into the XD. Somebody came up with that gun, but then they decided in the United States, people are going to want it to be called an XD, and they're going to want, I guess, writing all over it or whatever they came up with. So I'm guessing it's the same thing.
So I was actually talking to Stephanie about the changes they made, And I mean, she admitted like they listened to what people said needed to be improved and actually did it in a year, from last year to this year. They changed things, and I thought that was pretty fast. But we've had this discussion before. A small boat can have a much quicker turning radius than an aircraft carrier, so they can do those things. And I like it. I like everything about the firearm. I like the way they market it. Stephanie did a whole bunch of Zooms with different ranges, and that's how I learned about her from going to We Shoot. And he actually, one of the owners actually told me that they did a Zoom meeting to the buyers, and they were talking about it. And as you know, a female-owned company, which there's like three firearms manufacturers or firearms importers or whatever you want to call them. I know, excuse me, two off the top of my head. There's not that many. And she did a kind of Woman's Day kind of thing. And I thought that was pretty cool. But when I came down to the range, they insisted on we actually take one of the Ross Martins and introduce people to it. And I thought it's a Glock 19, but more features. It's a Glock 19. There you go. That RM1C comp. I thought that was interesting. And I'd like to see if that remove some of the recoil? Does it add more concussion because of the cut in the front, or does it make it easier, for me to introduce it to people?
I guess I would call it a Glock clone. I usually call it takedown, whether or not it's a Glock. And when I was looking at it, just people looking at it, I didn't pay attention, but looking at these pictures, seeing that takedown, that's very Glocky. So
that's why I called it a Glock clone. And that's why it's in my video as a Glock clone too, because I looked at it the same way.
There it is. Jeff is saying it's based on the AREX Delta Gen 2.
Oh, really?
Okay. That was a company that lasted a few years. I think they were out of Texas. And whatever reasons, they didn't stick around. Probably because it was a saturated market and what they were offering wasn't like mind-blowing. It was just a difference. It wasn't like a difference that people were dying for. But marketing.
So I like what they did. I like meeting the people that actually build the guns, and they're individuals. You know what I'm saying? Like when I met Ronnie Barrett, he built that company out of his garage. When I met the owner of Carr, this is a dude that put some things together, not the same, but close. But you actually meet the real people, and you can actually talk about what's behind them, and you get to at least talk to them. And I kind of dig that aspect, and I want to help them. Just like Rob Pincus. Rob's my friend. Rob started his own thing. And so I'm going to try to get one of his firearms too. I like different. I like American made. I like small businesses because they need the help. The huge companies, they don't need that much help.
They don't need the help, and then they do shit like Smith & Wesson putting a Hillary hole in for so long that people are celebrating the one gun that doesn't have a Hillary hole.
Yeah, no, seriously. I'm sitting there going, what are y'all talking? They had the whole classic line that didn't have Hillary holes in it, right? They had a whole entire line that they charged more money to do less work on. They had less manufacturing stuff.
This is the first one in a while because they made a big deal out of it. But they've already made them without the hole.
They have a whole line called Classic that don't have the hole in it.
Oh man, that's lame.
You can find it on the webpage.
Anyway, that's shit. The big company will do whatever they want for as long as they want, and then.
Now, only one company got on my damn nerves, and it was because I don't think it's anything. Well, the company did marketing. I don't blame the company for marketing. I blame the people for freaking buying into it, and that's Keltec and this lie. The stripper clip fed 21 round magazine is a workaround for magazine capacity limitations in restrictive states. And I know it's some like, why are you bothered by that? I'm like, because I live in a restrictive state. We have a lot of ignorant people here, and ignorant by not knowing the actual laws here or how they're written, that will hear this and think purchasing this, what is it? The Keltec 5.7
I don't remember
really,
the name. The
yeah, the
clipless.
Keltec, yeah. Or F, no, yeah,
Be the magless. It would.
RFR.
I don't remember what they
Anyway,
called it. You shot it though,
my
right?
whole point, yeah, I shot it. I wasn't impressed by it. I mean, it's a 5.7 that's made by Keltec, so it feels like a Keltec, which is not great. The grip is boxy, it's not rounded off. The little squares that are, Keltec is known for, the little squares in the pistol grip aren't really grippy at all.
Didn't they make another
What else?
5.7? What was that other 5.7 I had? That was a Keltec, wasn't it?
What didn't they make like a PMR or something? Is that it?
I can't remember now. I owned a
So,
I owned a 22 Magnum. No, it was 22 Magnum. So I'll shut up. It wasn't 5.7. I owned the PMR 30. No.
yep.
What's the PMR 30? Yeah, the PMR 30 was a 22 Magnum with 30 round mag, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I owned that one. It was a good gun. I had to sell it because of bills, but it was like shooting that, I'd say, except that had a magazine, so if there was no you could do something about it.
PR 5.7. I was adding one too many alphabet. It's PR 5.7, and they continually said this stupid line that it's a workaround, and I'm like, most of our anti-gun legislation is actually coming out the same people, written by the same people, and they're written the same way. This is not a workaround in any way whatsoever. As far as what I thought about it, I think it's a range gun. Have fun with it. A lot of Keltec stuff is range guns, and you should have fun with them. I think they have potential. Some of them that they could be made into something worth fighting with and fighting for, but it would take a little more than Keltec puts into them, in my opinion. Keltec makes range guns, in my opinion, and very interesting range guns, very engineered. I think it's just cool. I don't ever want Keltec to go away, but stop telling people that this is a workaround, because it is not in any way a workaround, because that's not how the laws are written.
I haven't edited my video yet, but he mentioned when I did my little talk with the guy at Range Day, he mentioned that, the reason the slide is round like that is because the bar stock comes in that way, or the stock, that they make it out of comes in round. And instead of milling it and everything and wasting a bunch of metal and time, they just left it round. And I was like, okay, I can dig that.
Okay.
That's your, it looks weird, but this is why. Okay. And then there's two guide rods under there. And he's like, that's because it's round and you don't have the same, you couldn't put there's not enough room to put like a figure eight. It would be like a figure eight. So they have like two little guide rods. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense also. And then he gets to the magazine, the lack of magazine. And that is, it's a question, it's an answer to a question no one asked for, but it's a solution no one asked for anything. So I'm not looking for ways to gripe or bitch, but that is not necessary, and it's dumb because you can't clear it. So that I just don't get. There are guns with it.
So
there are old guns that died, and I think that's why they died. So even if it was just a range gun, you still want to be able to clear it. You push the trigger forward and you can pull the slide off, but that'll scare the shit out of you if you're dealing with it, and it's that part I don't like. So I think they could have, and I don't know why. He's an engineer. He just hasn't, I guess, played with enough of them to realize how scared shitless you can be when you have your magazine loaded and there's no way to remove all those rounds, and you have a malfunction. Because at least on my P10, you couldn't take off the slide that easy, so it was really scary to work with that. But if you're at a public range and there's any perception of a safety officer watching you, or just regular person, like, that's frustrating and shitty. So all they would have had to do is put a thing that lets the bottom of the mag or the bottom of the grip fall out, like almost all the bolt action guns in the world that have a box mag that's
Uh-huh.
incorporated into it. They let the bottom fall out. So what the hell? Like, why not let the bottom fall out and let all the
Yeah.
rounds fall out the bottom? Let the spring
Yeah.
fall out the bottom, and then put it
Like
back
like
together.
a SKS, like a
Uh,
Mosin, all of them.
like everything, right? So that part
Mm-hmm.
I did not get. Like, I did not get that part. And then they said something like there's an indicator when you load it fully. There's an indicator, and I'm like, all right, so now you've got something sliding up and down in there, essentially like a follower, right? Like, I guess it's still a follower, even though it's an internal box magazine, because it still has a magazine. It's just that it's an internal box magazine that doesn't come off. So there's still a follower in there. And anyway, I'm thinking, why not make it where you can at least stop the follower somehow, so that, like, again, you have a malfunction. And I'm thinking malfunction like failure to feed, doubles tap, or not double tap, but a double feed, or
Mm-hmm.
um, failure to shoot, so it doesn't extract. So now you're just, or just does any failure where you have an empty chamber or a full chamber, you start to pucker when you got a gun that doesn't have a magazine. 60% because you're used to pulling the mag out first, and now you can't. So your mind is in a glitch because you can't do the thing you're supposed to do. And then 40% because what do you do with all these rounds that are still in there? Like, they're really not a problem, but they are because you've still got to get them past the chamber somehow. So anyway, it's just for that part, like, I try not to rag on designs or something, but I just don't get that part at all. Not for something in production. For prototype, I don't give a
It's,
shit. For like
yeah,
3D
because
print, make it yourself, who cares? But for something that's getting sold to people, that just makes no sense to me.
hmm And again, I'm talking about people who are ignorant of the laws and also ignorant of how this. And I'm going shit. I'm ignorant of how this gun runs. I mean, you know what I mean? Like if I have a double, because I asked him, I asked the kid, the young man. I love everybody's a kid to me now, but I was like, hey, how do you clear malfunction? And I guess everything rubbed me the wrong way. Maybe I walked in with a chip on my shoulder. But when he told me, well, we haven't gotten any malfunctions, we've not had any malfunctions. And if we do get them, what we do is we push the trigger for it and strip the top off. And I'm like, you told me two sentences that don't go together, bro.
Yeah, that's messed up.
I'm like, you only said two sentences to me, and one or both have to be lies. So it just annoyed me. And then when I came back and I watched videos, I forgot the guy's name, something Knight. He actually had a malfunction that they had to clear, and he was filming it. And he was like, it took 2 reps and about 3 minutes for them to clear the malfunction from this guy. It took two dudes who worked for Keltec working on it to clear the malfunction. Not cool.
Yeah, I mean, I get that it's new or whatever, so I'll give them some amount of leeway that they haven't had time to get really familiar with it, but it's a gun that you need time to get really familiar with, and that's the
Yeah.
design of it. Like I said, I
Now I
don't.
like 5.7. I like the idea of 5.7 for somebody who's recoil sensitive
Well,
as
I
a
like five
five as
seven
as
for all
an
kinds of
yeah.
reasons. It's cool. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think me. I'm one of those people that love different calibers. I love 30 super carry just because it's there. It could serve a purpose. But when I was looking at this, and for the price that it is, and for how quirky it is, and how niche it is, I'm like, nah. I mean, we have Palmetto State Armory, Ruger, and TSOS that have 5.7 handguns that are also light, inexpensive, take detachable magazines that are commonplace, and you can actually run it like a regular handgun. I can take that and put it in a port with one of my guys, at a diversity shoot without even telling them anything other than, hey, this is a 5.7, put the pointy ammo in it and they can run it because my guys own multiple handguns. You know what I mean? They own multiple firearms, so it's intuitive enough. It works like a regular gun that they can introduce it to someone. Because the 5.7 doesn't have as much recoil and doesn't need as strong of a recoil spring. someone with grip strength issues can still rack a slide on the 5.7 from those three manufacturers. And all three of them are less expensive than the FN version that's affordable to somebody who might want to just dip their toe into the 5.7 arena just to dip their toe into it. Or it may be somebody who's looking for a self defense gun that wants something stronger than a 22 or 22 Magnum, but maybe haven't checked out 380s, or maybe that's too much. I don't know. I just know there's a market for it, and there's better guns in that market than the PR-57. And I think you're right. I think if they put the little drop plate in, like almost every freaking in-clipped uh, uh, bolt action or SKS has, then you can just drop that and dump the rounds and make it easier for somebody like me to go, all right, at least there's a procedure to strip out, you know, a jacked up malfunction. At least that's the way I see it. Because if you try to run a class with this thing, who the heck, like, how do you top the mag off? Because, oh, and that was another thing that annoyed me.
You can
When he
just load
said
it.
20 plus.
You don't have to load it with that stripper clip. You can, like, when they loaded it for me, he's like, I don't have a stripper
Yeah.
clip, so I'm just going to load it like this. And I'm like, come on, man. It took like an hour and a half because they had to put each round in there like a SKS.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, how do I run a civilian class and somebody shows up with a PR-57? And now, as someone who's ran an SKS in a modern rifle class, and I had, the 1945 special there from the Soviet Union, I was slowing the class down. Not by much, but I was slowing the class down, and I used stripper clips all the way through. But I was losing rounds, and I wasn't able to top off. And I understood that going in, and my gun wasn't new. I mean, you know what I mean? It was seen before. So it's not like I brought it's not like I brought a Keltec to the event. I just brought a SKS to a carbine class.
Winston is saying, how does a Mauser C96 magazine clear? Isn't it fed with stripper clips? Does the bottom drop out? I'm trying to think of the last time I fiddled with one. I never liked them too much. The on C96. I was thinking of the other one. So let me bring that up on the screen here. I was thinking of the one where the mag is in the grip, not this one. So there we go.
Oh, the Steyr?
Maybe. And I don't remember on that one. On this one, yes, definitely the plate comes out the bottom. But I don't remember if you can do that while it's loaded. Like, I know that it comes apart. I don't think it's just milled like that. And I've seen them with these extended mags, but I think that's a different model. Some of them just do have like a fixed mag here, but I'm pretty sure that bottom comes out. It's been a long time since I fiddled with one of these. When I was a little kid, I could fiddle with these and nobody cared at all because they weren't expensive. But when I got older, you don't touch them because they cost a shit ton of money and nobody wants you fiddling with it. So
dude, that is so true.
Fiddled with it before, and I've definitely taken them apart. Like when I was a little kid, I played with these things, and that's why I got sick of them. Because, yeah, see, it comes off. I don't think I ever took that off. Like I've taken it apart, and that's one of those things. Like all guns are different, and German guns have a reputation for being dumb and stupid because of this kind of shit. But I mean, holy crap! I can't even imagine how many pieces are in a Mauser. And it's like,
yeah, but I mean,
I guess they were still developing guns, but it's something about the German mind where they're like, well, if I could do it easy, why would I do it easy when I could do it with 5 parts and make it really complicated and tricky? Maybe they liked watches or something, and they were trying to make it more like a watch or something.
Everything's like a watch. But I mean, I totally get it. I'm like, and then the marketing annoyed me, but it's just marketing, so I'm not going to act like a bitch with marketing. Yeah, so Glock Store is actually selling those Glock 25 slides with 2 mags for like nearly $400. You can buy the whole gun for $4.99 from Glock Store also.
So selling 380 complete slides with 2 mags for the 19. So in other words, you get a 19 and you buy a 380 slide with 2 mags, and now it's a 380 instead of a 9mm.
Yep. All you have to do, if it's a Gen 3, if it's a
Okay.
Gen 3 Glock, all you have to do is swap the slide. But again, they sell the whole gun for $4.99.
Yeah, but if you already got a 19, I could totally see. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm assuming that slide and 2 mags is like $200 or something, somewhere in there.
No, it's $3.99 for the slide, complete slide, and 2 mags, or
Oh,
$4.99 for the whole freaking gun.
yeah, I'd buy the whole gun because then you're paying $100 for a new receiver.
Yep, that can just be a second freaking 9mm eventually, if you want to do it that way. So yeah, I went on and looked because I've subscribed to Glock Store, and oh wow, that is so gross. I'm looking at the P15 over at Kel-Tec. It's got a grip safety. Seriously, guys, that's just everything you do is freaking halfway. Hey, we got peanut butter and jelly, but we got to put freaking salty. What do you call them things? Little fish,
What's the
little
name of it again?
canned fish. What name of what?
The new one you're talking about?
The
The
new
5.
pistol over. Oh, the 57 PR 57 PR
Yeah.
57. I was trying to look for a handgun that didn't. I could say, hey, all right, this is not bad from Kel-Tec, and no, it's just all experimental stuff, which is fine. But there's nothing I'm going to recommend anyone.
A while ago, you were talking
Listen,
about the Charlie Brown guy from Caltech. When I was
no,
I-
High Point.
from High Point, yeah, I got Caltech on the brain now. From High Point,
Hmm.
and when I was helping out Charlie, he needed help with podcasts a couple of times, so I hung out with him. Here's the one I have.
Oh.
The P10 from back in the day.
Okay.
But anyway, Charlie was needed some help, but all he needed to do was like stand there and make sure that his phone was not connecting well, so he needed somebody to stand there who knew what they were doing, so that we could stand there. I could stand there and just make sure that his phone would stay connected to the internet, so that his stream would stay live. And then with the cord if it didn't, right? But I really didn't have to do anything else than make sure his screen didn't turn black, and then wiggle the cord if it did. So basically, I had time to sit around talking to everybody. And when I forget what order Charlie had guests, but he had like, let's say 3 or 4 guests scheduled for each hour. And Charlie from High Point showed up way earlier than you needed. So he was there for a while, and I got to chat with him for a bit. So that was kind of cool.
Oh, this is over when they were over in Samsung?
Yeah. Doing the thing on the Jeep. And it's just that the way he scheduled, people are just being nice, right? Like, okay, if I'm scheduled for 12:20, I'm going to show up at 12, or I'm going to even show up a little earlier. And that worked out because somebody didn't show up, and then somebody jumped on early. So anyway, he was just, he was one of those people that showed up generously early just to make sure that something needed, whatever, he was there. And that means he was just standing around, and he wasn't like in a big hurry or nothing. So and because they were all mic'd up with their headsets and shit, like we could talk. It wasn't like I had to whisper or anything. Like, I'm pretty sure you didn't hear us talking because it was all mic'd up to because it's a big noisy room. So Charlie had it so that they were using headsets and all that.
Yeah, I liked the way they had that set up. It was funny. I was over there when they had Cheryl Todd on, and I forgot who else was there, but I was there BSing with Cheryl's husband, Danny. He is a funny dude. Danny's a funny dude. I like that family though. Yeah, so I've hung out with Charlie. It's hilarious because I didn't know who he was, as in that he owned the company. I was complaining about their magazines for their pistols. I was like, if the magazines were a little bit better, I could give you more props. But that's the one downfall. The mags.
And I'm sure he seems like a pretty nice guy. He probably didn't get all offended by that or anything.
Not in the least bit. And I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, I might get one of their 10s. I've been thinking about getting one of their 10 millimeters just to allow people to have that peak in the 10 millimeter. People want to check out cartridges sometime and don't want to drop five, seven, $800 on a firearm to run the cartridge and see if they like it or not. And I'm like, okay, cool. Here's a high points, barely over $200 MSRP,
Or maybe
and
you
you can check
buy
it
a
out.
really expensive 10. Why not buy a high point also? Because now you got more than one gun to shoot your 10s with.
Yeah, you got that too.
And
And you can also,
at least for me, depending on the gun, I guess, you'll get guns that are
Mhm.
finicky or guns that like stuff. So you get yourself a high point to eat everything that the finicky gun doesn't like.
Oh, yes. And a high point is a garbage disposal when it comes to that. And I really like the new high point pistol they have. That was pretty much their carbine with the stock cut down and the barrel cut down to 14 inches.
Yeah.
Um, I think it looks cool. I was talking to Dave over at High Point. He was like, "Yeah, this is not the first gun you buy. This is one of the guns you buy because you think it's neat and you might want to do some stuff to it. See if you can do this, see if you can do that, or you might just have fun with a little short 9 or 45 or 10 millimeter that's
What
only
is
this
the
long
what mag does the 10 millimeter high points take?
that takes their 10 millimeter high point pistol back.
Oh, it's not a Glock mag or a Beretta mag or something.
And no, none of this stuff does that. Um, well, we've had this conversation too. They wanted to be 50 state legal. They wanted to meet a price point. They came out with the mags. They can produce those single stack mags. They've already done the math. Remember, High Point, these High Points came out in the middle of that Clinton, assault weapons ban. So they made it 50 state legal at the time. And to change it now, I mean, you saw it, it raises the price because you've changed things. That's why it took so long for a new High Point to come out with a new pistol design. Now, I have a 40. I have a High Point 40 cal pistol, and I have a High Point carbines. The High Point carbine and the High Tower bullpup chassis makes this gun so much fun. I mean, heck, I have it right here beside my bed with a friggin' flashlight on it and a 1 point sling. Actually, a 2 point sling. I don't know why I said 1 point sling. And a 2 point sling. I ran it in classes. I ran it across the country. Decent guns. If I was a person that was like, hey, man, I want to run this High Point for real, you know what I mean, as a home defense gun, I would get the 4510. Or, yeah, I got 10 round mags. They do have the 20 round mags too, but I live in Jersey. So I got a 10 round mag that feeds well and can launch something like 10 millimeter with self defense ammo out of a 16-inch barrel. We're talking 700 to 800 foot pounds, which is 2 to 2.5 times the foot pounds of your hot 9 millimeter coming out of a handgun. And this thing has an overall length of barely past 26 inches. So short barrel rifle kind of length. And again, I've fired thousands of rounds through these things, the ones I have, and I think I have a total of 7 mags I've used over 7 year time period. And I've only had 2 go down in that entire time of running class after class, diversity shoot after diversity shoot, Minuteman challenge after Minuteman challenge. And of course, a butt ton of range trips. So, and of course,
Right.
these are conversations I've had with them over at High Point too. They know their niche and they're staying in it.
In addition to high point, you talked about whatever We Tactical is called, the Billy Goat
Yeah,
Mountain Labs or something, Gun Labs.
there you go. You nailed it.
And I always go by there because one, they got good patches, and two, I like to. They
Hmm.
have a little AK that they talked about last year. It's still vaporware; it wasn't even there this year, but they made that
AK.
scaled down. Yeah, they're going to make an AK also. They made a scaled down AR that we were talking about, and this year they made a pistol. So I don't know if you've seen that, but they have an AR
Yep.
pistol in that scaled down like that. I really, really want. they haven't. Their brace is still pending approval with the ATF, but you don't need a brace on that. It's super awesome the way it is. So I'll probably. I haven't bought a gun in a while. I'll probably get one of those because I like miniatures, and that's almost a miniature, but it's a production gun. And in the little pistol, it's just amazing. It looks cool. It looks super cool.
Yeah, Mountain Billy Gun Lab.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I can even 3D print because I want to make that little pistol look like a little Vietnam carbine, whatever that was called.
Nice, bro. Nice.
Right.
So I think I like what they are. I like what they did. I like how they're fighting back. I just don't think it's right. I just don't think it's right that they were attacked like this by a political party, and they don't give a damn about kids. They were lying. They were misrepresenting everything about the company and the firearms laws. Oh, you're selling guns to kids. You know you can't sell guns to children, right, you doofuses? Like, none of the reporters ever said that. They just pushed the dang narrative because that's what they do. And ignore the comment section when you go, they can't sell directly to children. And this is 22. And they have single shot magazines if you choose to. And they have the ability to lock the gun up that a kid's fingers aren't strong enough to actually take it off safe.
There's a complicated twisting lock mechanism that they came up with to essentially lock it out so that if you're teaching with it or you're putting it up, like a little kid, you probably wouldn't know how to fiddle with it, but then also wouldn't have the finger strength to be able to do anything about it, even if they knew how to fiddle with it.
Yeah, and that's if you took no responsibility as an adult and I don't know, left it on the coffee table.
Yeah. Well, when I was a little kid, I was able to have my guns. I don't know if that's a thing. You're not allowed to do that, I guess, anymore. But I was allowed to have my guns. So I don't remember when that started, but it's probably too young for some people to deal with. But I don't know how to justify it. I just lived that life. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I wanted to have my guns in my room, they went, okay, I don't care. Like, who cares if you have your guns in your room? I guess to some extent it was like we kept them in the safe because nobody wanted to break in the house and steal them. But I don't think anybody's too worried about me having like my BB guns and my 22s, near me, whatever.
And
or like,
of course, it's
stolen or whatever.
And it's knowing your freaking kid too. I mean, let's just say a lot of parents. I have parents in my own family that live in denial about their children's
good or bad
disability. You know what I mean? It's like, no, actually, disability. It's like, no, your kids on the spectrum. There's nothing wrong with that, but they refuse to even do the basics to get their kids help to make them into a better functioning adult dealing with the things that the children have to deal with. And, oh, not my kid. Hey, bro, it's no indictment of you as a human being. It's just your kid has some issues, and here's a way to work through them, and they're not willing to do it. So now when we're talking about a kid that's misbehaving, that has some issues, and maybe you shouldn't give that kid a firearm. Oh, nope, they're going to be in denial of that too. I'm like, oh my goodness. Yeah, that's a problem. But that goes back. I mean, there's always been parents like that, but at least we used to say the truth back in the day before we had a lot of school shootings because parents handled that thing different. You handle a lot different back then. See, gun. What's up?
I said that gets into shit, but I don't really think I wouldn't lay the I'm gonna say, I don't know what to call it, phenomenon of stuff happening in schools with parents, because maybe the individual parents, it lines up once in a while, they're bad parents or something. I don't know. I definitely don't know it all because I have never done any research. Like, I have no idea. Maybe I'm talking out my ass. But to me, it seems like it's more of a media influence and the idea that if you want to become infamous in the United States in the last, I don't know, 10 years or something,
Eh,
I don't know, whenever it started in 90, whatever, with them fuckers in
yeah,
Colorado. Like
yeah,
ever since then, they made those kids into what is that called?
instant,
In what's the
infamous, infamous.
infamous? Exactly. Yeah, they made them infamous. So that means anybody who wants to be, well, the other thing is there used to be
Mm-hmm.
bombers. Bombing was a thing for a minute. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
been a thing, I guess, over time for spurts. And what happens
Yep,
is the media doesn't play them up anymore. They shut up about it and they don't make them into heroes. Um,
100%, bro.
sometimes, but and then there's been kidnappers, and then there was the mass murderers. Or what are they called? Do they call mass murderers?
Serial
No,
killers.
serial killers. Yeah, and the
Mm-hmm.
same thing. Like that was a fad for like what in the 70s or something. Like
Yep.
so anyway, so it just became a thing, and instead of saying, "Hey, quit doing it," the media was like, "Can't what's going to happen? It's going to happen again. It's going to happen. It's going to happen again." And then when it happens again, they're
Mm-hmm.
like, da, 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 "It happened
We told
again."
you.
Da.
Yep.
And then it's like, you know what? It's going to happen again. If you don't do what we say, it's going to happen again. So I'm blaming the media more than parents because I don't think there's any parents out there going like, blah blah blah. If my kid was any good, he'd be crazy, or you know what I mean. Like parents are maybe in denial or something, but I don't think there's any parents out there causing that shit. But I
Oh,
don't know.
well,
I don't know if
it's
I.
just one of the things I was talking about, dude. My whole issue with all of this is, excuse me, I apologize. Um, my whole issue is they were lying and they pretty much attacked an American company. And when you've met, mom, dad, when you've met the son and the cousins, it just seems kind of effed up because you're not really trying to solve a problem. You're trying to push an agenda. And these are small business people. And me coming from a family of small business people, I just think it's jacked and needs to be called out. And it just pisses me off.
I didn't come from small business people, but I know Kamala Harris came from her mom was a small business owner, or some friend of hers was a small
I,
business owner. So I
yeah,
feel like I understand.
a middle class family, bro. That's what it was. Didn't say she came from a middle class family.
I don't know. I remember hearing something like when I was young, I know all about being I know all about being a business owner because when I was young, like it was either her mom or somebody's friend was like a business owner. She's like, I knew a business owner when I was young. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
You
dude,
say,
it
somebody who's a business
it
owner. Like
was.
everybody in the whole world knows somebody who's a business owner. Like,
Yeah, no. Uh, I'm like, bro, this was such. It was almost a sketch comedy. If you take a step back and just look at how that thing was ran, it was like over and over and over again. And it's like, oh, Tony, no, it's just badly done. When she said she made collard greens in the bathtub,
oh my god,
I
I
was
thought
like,
you
I'm
were.
done. Oh,
I got a gun and I'll shoot him in the face or something. But yeah, the making stuff in the bathtub was beyond.
uh, I'm like, all right, I'm done. And I got somebody said, oh, you should stick to just talking about guns. And I'm like, nah, nah. That was so blatantly Hillary Clinton hot sauce in the purse that it had to be called out. And if you don't like it, that's too bad. This is my page.
Well, I don't
This
think
is my
anybody is like she got like they used wrong camera angles. She was perfect. They just used bad quotes. Like I don't think anybody was impressed with her performance. I mean, I
yeah.
might be wrong,
That
but I
was
don't
just
think too many
hey,
people.
listen.
Paid too
Again,
much
as somebody who
attention.
doesn't like politics anyway, I'm not going to take somebody's side just because they're a fill in the blank. No, that was just badly done, bro.
So, what did you think of? I had people because I guess because on Monday was Trump's is it inauguration? I don't know what the word is, but it was his day when he
Hmm.
became president or whatever. So
Yeah, swearing in
that
ceremony.
happened
Yeah.
on Monday, and somebody was texting me, not a gun person, just a friend that's a non-gun person, was curious because I knew that was they think we're at a gun show. They don't have any nobody who's not even gun
Yeah.
people don't really know what SHOT Show is, but people who don't know guns think that we're at a giant gun show. Like I don't know what they
Yeah.
think, but they definitely have weird ideas. Anyway, but they asked, um, what's the I forget how they said it, but essentially like what's the attitude, what's the mood like at SHOT Show because of Trump being sworn in or whatever today. And then maybe because he signed a bunch of shit, which honestly I didn't even know until like Wednesday, because I'm not paying attention to anything about the news, right? Like, unless the world ended, the world could probably end and a bunch of us wouldn't know, because
Nope.
we're not paying attention to outside world. We're like, got everything, our whole entire focus is on what we're doing there. And that's all, not like I had tunnel vision. So anyway, they asked me that, and but I've been asking other people about SHOT, the same question. What do you think? Did you see any Trump stuff? Did it seem very political this year? And then, like, second question, or maybe same question with just more, I was kind of thinking that this year might be a big party environment because of the politics situation. But to me, at least, it was like, on a scale of 1 to 10, like 10 being a lot of politics and 0 being no politics. I mean, I don't even think I seen a Trump thing. Maybe 2 or 3 Trump patches this year, but out of like dozens and dozens of patches. But anyway, what's your answer? What was your impression
It
of
was
like the politics and Trump and all?
it was really low in my opinion. I think I would have heard a lot more if I wasn't at SHOT. If I was at work that week, I would have heard more about Trump and his executive orders and January 20th. I would have heard more about it at work than I did at SHOT Show. Like,
Yeah.
so no, I think it was really low.
I think if I went to Walmart, I'd have seen more Trump stuff than going to SHOT Show. I think I
Yeah,
might have
definitely.
seen a red hat. And if it was a red hat, it was like, make ammo great again. It was just some play on the red hat. It wasn't even like a Trump red hat.
I just wasn't seeing a lot now. The attitude was, in my opinion, because now I've only been there since 2020. It was less nervous than it was, because remember when we were there and they had the brace issue just come about, and all of a sudden the ATF was like, yeah, braces are SBRs. Like, I was there for that SHOT Show where all of a sudden all the braces were snatched off of everything and people were kind of holding their breath. I felt that more than anything about Trump at this time.
Oh, I know what you mean. Like, the presence of that opinion or that like unwritten thing was like way more apparent because all the braced guns had no braces on them, or they didn't even have their pistols on the shelf, right?
Yep.
But
Like,
that's
all that was
interesting
pulled
to
in
say
effect.
that.
Yeah.
I've been going there for a while. So in 12, when the braces first came out, we were already at Sands. So the whole brace thing happened at Sands. So the first braces came. Well, that's not true. There was probably a brace or something in prototype that came out before that, but it probably still would have been at Sands. But anyway, so in 12, when they first came out, and I forget, was it SIG or who the hell came out with that first braced pistol? Maybe it was Century. It was somebody, maybe it was Century and SIG, but it was like a couple of companies that came out with the first braces. I know it was SIG because it was a SIG brace. It had to be SIG. So SIG
Yeah, it
came
was
out
called
with the
SIG
first
brace, right?
brace.
Yeah.
And then, but Century came out with it like 5 minutes later for the AKs and the ARs. So anyway, they first came out in 12, and it was like, yep, you don't need to get a letter because there's already been a letter written for the product, so you can just buy these and put them on your pistols. And it was like dun 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 dun, and then it was like 15 that they came out with the letters that said, no, it's a holding it up to your shoulder is manufacturing. And that's when we came out with the brace this patch. That was 2015. And then, like you're saying, I think it went backwards to, oh no big deal, you can shoulder them again in like 16 or 17. Like, it happened pretty quick. But then, like you're saying, was it in 20? I don't remember when it was, but it's definitely been a weird ass roller coaster ride, which will end up with the removal of the NFA, luckily, because that's SBRs. That's the whole questioning of if SBRs are even a thing. But then you go along with like the flux whole thing that happens. Is that a chassis or not, or is it just a lower? Whatever the flux is, and then of course the chassis, the different places that make chassis that you drop pistols into and turn them into braced
So,
pistols.
yeah. So the CAA, they're one of the ones that do it. Keep an eye on them. I heard they're coming out with a Gen 4. It's going to be off the chain. because they just came out with the Gen 3. And this is Jersey legal. That's why I'm paying attention to it, because it's Jersey legal that you can drop, your Glock, your SIG, your Beretta, your CZ into a chassis that has a brace. And now you have 4 points of contact like you would with an SBR or a carbine. Um, I like that because in a state like New Jersey, and I'm going, and I know some people are tired of it, but understand I live what you call behind enemy lines, and I'm dealing with all kinds of people, not just gun people. I'm dealing with somebody that just wants to buy a firearm, and many people think a firearm for self protection means a pistol right off the bat. And then when you wait months and you spend hundreds of dollars to get one, that's what you got until you have to put in paperwork to get another. You know what I mean? So this is what they have. So when I look at something like one of those things that you put the pistol in, and now you have pretty much a personal defense weapon. I won't say a carbine, but a personal defense weapon. I think those are good. Look, my mom's not going to have an arsenal. My mom's not going to have a rifle, pistol, or shotgun, and for long distance and what do you call it, Jabberwocky or Tatawai or whatever you call it. My mom's going to have one gun. So if you can take your Glock 17, your Glock 22, your Smith and Wesson, and you can put it in this thing, and now you can put a light on it, you can put a sling on it, and now you have multiple forms of contact. I think those are great for that. And actually, I'm planning on running a class with one just to see how you run one in a carbine class or a pistol class. Not a pistol class, but a pistol caliber carbine class. I want to run it to see good and the bad because I've never seen anybody actually. I've only seen one video of somebody run it, and they're comparing it to things that it's not, and I don't think that's fair. I watched somebody run it and try to compare it to PCCs. Well, it's not. It's a pistol in a brace. How does it work in a class? Like when does the wheels fall off? You know what I mean? I think that's important to see what it can do and what it can't do.
Well,
And I
like you
like
say,
those.
for reasons they can be useful.
Mm-hmm. And be aware of them. Yes, and I say Jabberwocky just to throw a freaking wrench in it because it's annoying. It's just fantasy bandcamp bull crap.
Tetwanaki. I forget how people pronounce it. Now that you said it, it's
Had it.
been years since people have really been saying it.
Yeah, I just call it Jabberwocky because it's stupid. I mean, it's fun. Who's better, who's stronger, Spider-Man or Hulk? Conversations. I mean, it's the same conversations we had as a kid.
Dude, speaking of that, for people that follow Soldier Systems on Instagram, excellent source of interesting stuff. And he posted about a movie, The Hulk, The Trial of the Incredible Hulk, or something like that. And
Okay.
it's from 1980, I think. I can't remember. It's either 80 or 84 or something like that. But it's the Hulk where it's Lou Ferrigno and Bill Bixby Hulk from the show. But it's a made-for-TV movie, and it's the first instance of Daredevil in a TV show, I think. So it's Daredevil is the attorney, and Hulk is minding his business, just doing his thing. And then something happens, and he turns into Hulk, and then goes to jail, and then Hulk smashes him out of jail, and then Daredevil takes him, or defends him in court. So against Kingpin. So it was pretty cool. And the guy, do you remember that movie or the TV show Sliders? There's in his basement invents a time machine or some parallel universe machine, and they slide between universes. And there's an old guy, the kid, the girl, and some other guy. I think maybe there's two other people, but there's the old guy from that show is the Kingpin. So I can't remember that guy's name, but he had like a real way about him, like a way of, I forget. Anyway, sort of like if he was from England or something. He was like a real character. And he always played that kind of loud kind of character. Anyhow, so he was Kingpin, and it was pretty good. It took me a while to track it down, but I think it was on YouTube even. You can
Oh,
find it.
probably.
It's like an hour and a half movie or something. It's like maybe a TV movie with the Hulk. Turns into Hulk like 8 times. It's pretty good. And Daredevil has like a ninja suit on. He has like, instead of having the red suit, he has a black suit on. So it's anyway, I saw that on Soldier Systems. I was like, cool. I dug it up and found it or watched it. How do you feel about the Gulf of America? I don't care. Do you care about?
I think it's
like a power play or just a mind fuck or just a way to keep everybody fucking paying attention to what he wants instead of something else.
I love it. I think it's hilarious. And the Trial of Incredible Hulk is free on YouTube
There you go.
with ads. It's an hour 35 minutes long. So I think it's hilarious. I think it's Trump trolling. And I don't care if you called it. See, I don't even take any of that seriously. That's built-in divisiveness. And if you want to be offended, you will be.
This whole freaking hemisphere is America. So I say call it the Gulf of America. Call it the
Gulf of America makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's America. It's not like we're North America. Like, you know what I mean? Like the United States of America. America is this whole chunk of land. Mexico is America. It's just a country in Central America. So I'm okay with it.
North America.
That's not how people use it.
Mexico is North America also. North America is Canada, United States, and Mexico.
America.
Nope. Central America starts at the border of Mexico, southern border of Mexico. So I just find it funny the people that would correct me on that when I said Mexico, it's all America. Okay, cool. Gulf of America. Oh no, screech. I'm like, shut up. One is divisive.
Well, the thing is they're using it as Gulf of USA, which is I wouldn't put down with that because it isn't. Like we have a chunk of it, but actually I don't even know. It's probably us and Mexico are probably about 50-50. I'd have to look at a map. But
it actually is 50-50. Supposedly 1,700 miles of coast on both sides. So it's 50-50.
So who cares? So I thought I like the Gulf of America as long as it's in the connotation of we're all the America. But no, it's not. I don't. So I think it's dumb to start fights, but obviously they're trying to screw around to get tariffs and other shit happening. The more importantly, I think a more interesting conversation would be, what do you think about, did Trump really make cartels terrorists? Or is that something he's thinking about doing?
I don't know because they've said it. But again, this is just, I've been out of the loop.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff that's said.
And I don't look it up. Like I'm out of the loop because I'll never look. Yeah.
Yep, 100%. I'm like, look, words are words. They don't mean it. Actions mean something. We've proven over and over again that drugs are winning the war on drugs. All right, stop. Just stop. If you're going to do something, let's do something actually constructive that works. Because we've dumped, at this point, trillions of dollars since we started the war on drugs under the Nixon administration in 1970. And we're where we are now. So do I care? Look, go do something. Do something constructive. We've had the war on drugs my entire freaking life. And the best you could come up with do is DARE programs in schools. I don't care, really. It's just frustrating.
It's such a bad job. With the Ironclads, and then a little bit of Ed Calderon, and then probably mostly the Ironclad Borderlands, whatever that.
Yeah, you got me following him. Yeah,
and that guy has had some really interesting conversations because when you listen to people from our side, it's one-sided. So when he listens, he'll have people on who are reporters in Mexico, and they're not impartial, I guess, because they're in Mexico. They got a different loyalty or whatever, but they're also able to see it from a totally different direction. And listening to some of the people who are actually paying attention and not just looking at it from outside, but paying attention on the inside, it doesn't sound like making them terrorists is the easy answer or the ideal answer. and that's because it allows us to do some stuff, but it allows us to do some stuff that doesn't necessarily make it isn't necessarily effective anymore. It might have been like the consensus of some of the folks is that that might have been effective, at some point in the past when they were the size they were, and we could have gone down there with the resources we have
Yep.
and expertise we have and like done something about the 15 people. But when it's 15
Hmm.
people, you can do something about it. When it's 1,500 people and most of them are working, like from home, and they're just allies with them, you're no longer going down there and taking them out with bullets. You have to do other things. So that's the
Lots of
thing.
other
It's
things.
just going to be really useless to just go down there and start shooting people because there's no one to shoot.
What is
There's too many people to shoot anymore.
I think it was too many people to shoot when Tom Clancy wrote the book. What was it, Clear and Present Danger? When that was the Hollywood fantasy of just send the US military down to stop the drug trade. I think that's how long it's been too late. You know what I mean?
Because that's
In
when
my
they were
opinion.
still just doing drugs and just either creating the drugs and moving them or passing the drugs, and there was something you could do about that. But
Yep.
they're on drugs anymore, so it's just too
They're in
much
everything from drugs to
pressure.
human trafficking to hell the avocado business in Mexico to other
It's like
things.
normal businesses, exactly, and it's just you can get rid of the drugs, but that's not going to stop the cartels anymore.
Yeah, and also let's go ahead and be truthful. Maybe if we weren't the number one freaking consumer as a country, that would also do something. But
Well, if
that
you
that
like
would affect.
doing drugs, then like you said, like
Yeah,
why stop people from doing drugs? Let them do their damn drugs and get the drugs somewhere that doesn't what's the word, empower and enrich the black market.
yep.
Earlier, Patriot said the important question is how many skull patches did you get? So I got maybe like one big ass bag of patches altogether. I didn't get as many patches as some years where I've gotten shit tons of patches. I get more
Hmm.
patches than a regular person. And I didn't get like 5. I didn't bug people to get a lot, and I didn't grab handfuls at places where you can, just because I
Ouch.
wasn't my year for doing patches or whatever. But I did get skulls whenever I could, and I got doubles for you. So I've already done a couple of videos. I did a video each night going through the
Oh,
patches
cool.
because one, I like to do it and see what I got, but I do mine so that my Patreons get them. So I'll keep one of everything I get, obviously, for my collection, but then
Mhm.
anything I get that's doubles or more, Patreons can just grab. So, because I'm not trying to have, I don't trade anymore, so I don't, care if I get doubles or anything. So, as I went through them, I found a couple. There wasn't a shit ton of skulls. There was a couple, and so you got a couple coming. But I would say this probably wasn't a year for patches anyway. Even though I wasn't really trying to get patches, I was talking to my patch friends and just things like the scavenger hunt that Tough Products, I think the Tough Products usually does. That on this year, and that's dozens of patches right there. So it's just a year. Got the hiccups. It's just one of those years where people didn't have a ton of money to do patches, so there weren't a ton. And then whenever there's not a ton, there's just going to be fewer skull ones. But there were a couple. And then he had asked, "Come on, can you describe AK and AKM basic furniture shapes?" Don't know if you want to talk about guns. The basic furniture shapes of the AKs, I would say, in basics, they start with the AK-47 when it was first developed, and into the first production models were wooden stocks that would probably be best described as like a shotgun stock, as far as the shoulder stock. Then they came out with a folding stock version of that, and originally it was kind of an underfolder, they call it, and it was made out of sheet metal bent, so it kind of reminds me of a big fork or a big camping fork or spork, or camping like a Swiss Army knife almost, because it was this big, like a Sten, or like a I don't know the name of all those German guns, but like a German folding stock, it like or like a Mac 10 that has a wire stock, doesn't it? Like an Uzi, I guess it has like an Uzi style, kind of created out of flat metal but bent into shape with some rivets, and then that stock pivoted at the rear of the receiver and pivoted under, and it was a crazy weird shape, and most people hate it because it was two what would you call them, like two channels that came from the hinge and would come back to the shoulder part. The shoulder part looked like the letter U and was made out of sheet metal, and attached to those two channels, kind of like a crutch, like if you had a broken leg or something and you were carrying around a crutch. So it would kind of look like a crutch, but it was all designed to fold, because as you folded it under the receiver, that shoulder stock part, which would be perpendicular when it was extended, would have to come down and kind of fold under the handguard. So that first underfolding stock was used by the Russians almost exclusively because everybody hated it, and I think it was pretty fragile. And the idea that it could fold up underneath the receiver was nice, and it was kind of invisible once it folded up under the receiver, but that didn't fold their guns that often. They found out, I think. So anyway, then you get the next style of folding stock turns out to be a just hinges at the end of the receiver and folds as a complete stock, like next to the receiver. And those are standard shotgun looking stocks. And then they came out with another metal stock that they call a triangle folder that had the outside dimensions of the shotgun stock, but again was made out of like a channel of metal, and was much more comfortable because of the way it was made in a triangle shape, as opposed to that like two channels in the U shape. But because it was a triangle, it folded to the side, and then that's pretty much it. They made plastic versions or hollow plastic versions of the wood stocks in the AK-74s and the AK-101 series, the AK Century series, and everything modern is that same. It's like heavy-duty glass impregnated plastic. It's not Bakelite or anything anymore, but it's hollow, and it's the shape of a shotgun stock. I don't know if that's about the best I can do, I think, describing the shapes of their stocks. The handguards are all, I don't know how to describe the shape of a AK handguard. It's organic, I guess. It's not. How would you describe the AK handguards?
Small.
Yeah, that's true too. Like there's not much to them. They're really just there to stop your hand from getting burned by the wood. So maybe a wood taco, I guess. Like they're like the size of a wooden taco that just kind of gets squished in between some metal clamps on the barrel, and because it's wood and there's some space there, some air space, you can touch the wood with it. The wood will get hot, but it won't get anywhere near as hot as the barrel. And because there's all that dead air space or open air space, I guess, you got it cools pretty quick, or at least as fast as anything can.
Well, AKs were never my thing. Yeah, because I like Mosins and I like SKSs, and I'm a result of my own experiences and where I was. And when I first started purchasing firearms back when I just got out of the Corps, it was for me. It wasn't to run tactical guns. It was because I liked the military history of the firearms that were there. And again, in my opinion, SKSs and Mosins were actual issued military equipment. And what you would get with an AK would be either a jacked up Century with a twisted sight that was built. It wasn't, you know what I mean? It wasn't military issue AK. It was a commercial venture with parts made for military issue guns, and they weren't incredibly well made in the mid 90s. even though they were inexpensive comparatively, they were still twice or almost two and a half the times the price of a Mosin, and they were a little more expensive than SKS. Actually, yeah, they were twice the cost of an SKS. And again, they weren't military issue, and I just like the military surplus angle. So I was just never an AK dude. And then when I finally did start shooting regular AKs, I wasn't impressed by them at all. It wasn't until I fired a Meridian Defense AK. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I fired a Krebs Custom AK. I was like, okay, this thing is awesome. And then my next custom or expensive AK was the Meridian Defense. And I'm like, okay, AKs were like this. I can get behind these too. But from what I saw about regular AKs, I really didn't like them or appreciate them. So that's why I don't really have much to say about them, because I like the really expensive ones.
That's a great point. And what's the thing about AKs? Is there anything else like them? Like they're appreciated for the things that we can't possess because of stupid ass laws. So people that have done, like, either worked, gone overseas and been around these things, they've experienced real ones, right? Like somebody had to go to the desert, got them shot at them, doing weapons familiarization. I don't know, just dismantling them or demilitarizing them, whatever it's called. People have been around the real ones, have seen the variety or whatever, the scope or the nuance of all the different ones. So they had some appreciation of it. But then, like me, I never got to go experience all that, or have to experience that, depending how you want to look at it, right? But all those guns were made throughout the fucking 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s to kill us. So my appreciation for them was just that they went broke. All those countries essentially went broke trying to make that gun and things like it to kill us, thinking that we were going to have this massive conventional war. And then all these guns got stuck into caves and salt mines and, abandoned warehouses and stuff. And then once all the Soviet stuff fell apart, that stuff just got either chopped up and sent over here or sent around the world. Some of it got sent to Africa to kill shit tons of people, right? And then maybe South America to kill shit tons of people. Maybe Asia. I don't know if there was shit happening in Asia or something.
Yeah.
But, some of it went out to warlords that shot people. But most of it, I think, I really don't know. I'm going to say most of it just went into piles, and then eventually we bought it as recreational shooters in the United States, just to fucking shoot at dirt. And that's the part that just fascinated me. And then I hooked up, luckily, in the early 2000s with a bunch of people who were super nerds, like more nerds than anybody. Like they'd gone over and met Kalashnikov multiple times, that level of nerd about the Kalashnikov rifles. So I got to meet up with them. And when parts kits were $79 or less, like people don't like to think about. I would go up and buy them for this friend of mine who built guns, and I would help him build. He would teach me how to build, and I could use his equipment. But also on the way up, I would stop by J&G sales. And when you go to J&G sales and buy hundreds of parts kits at a time, they're less than $79. And I was able to buy them at that price. So I bought them cheap, and I had tons. So I would hang out with people who knew about them, and I had tons of these parts kits, and I had all the machines in the world to play with them or to build them on. And, I would build a lot. So, because I could dress them all up. So if I wanted to, I learned about, I want to make a Polish gun. So I built a gun up, make it Polish. And I think that's what Patriot is kind of saying. So he's like, any suggestions on wood furniture sets that would fit the Wasser, wanting to, I don't know what he's saying, tiger stripe maybe, the wood on one, but he's not sure. He doesn't want to destroy something that's rare. So there's weird as it sounds, there is rare AK stuff. Most of it you'd think is like tons of it, and there's probably was tons of it at some point, but again, because of stupid laws and shit, some of it is rare in the United States. So it would be bad to, like, or at least a waste of everybody's time or money to destroy something good. I think anything from a wasser you can strip down and do anything you want to, and I still think nobody's going to get too butthurt about that because there were so many of those woods laying around. But I just haven't paid attention in so long to what wood is plentiful right now. Like for a while, Polish wood was plentiful, and then it dried up, and now people would go, oh, if you suggested we're stripping out some Polish wood and revarnishing it or something. So I'm thinking Wasser is probably the way to go. But honestly, if you can just buy it at a place, you're good to go. If it's affordable for you and you can buy it, don't worry about it. I've seen, at least in my experience, too many times with AK stuff, something as rare as hen's teeth. Sorry, Gizzard. Something will be rare as hell, and then somebody will find a container full of it, and now it's the most common thing on the market, and it went from $70 a piece to $7 a piece, and vice versa. Stuff that was $7, I have tons of stuff. I'm probably rich, I just don't even know it, but I bought so much AK stuff for like $7, and I was like, this seems like a good deal, I'm buying it. Like bayonets for $7, like how could you go wrong, right? And now they're probably worth 70. So I mean, I don't have that many, but I'm sure that I'm not losing money on any of my bayonets and stuff. So that's the kind of thing where there's other things like where I paid $900 for something, and then 2 years later somebody found a lot of them somewhere in like a factory of them, and now they're a $70 item, and it's like, dang. So anyway, so with that being said, I think if you can go buy it and strip it down and have some fun with it. Now, if you want to talk just wood in general, I'm pretty sure, I'm having to go back to my olden days, I'm pretty sure it was the Finland who did a very, very blonde wood. And if you could get some of that Finnish wood, now I think that would bother some people, but there's not that many people that collect authentic Finnish stuff anymore, or ever. I don't think there's ever been that many people that do that. But I'm pretty sure they used a very light, you know who it was? It was Bulgaria. Bulgaria used a very blonde wood. I just don't know if you're going to be able to find that because of just what you're thinking. Like you wanted to do something to it. And I'm thinking that probably was the good starter for a lot of people because it was such just a uniform light color wood. But there's a guy in California, and I can't remember his name anymore, but he basically went and got all the dimensions of all the different countries' wood and then put it into a CNC machine, and he just makes it. And I can't remember the name of that place, but it can't be too hard to find. There's a place in California that just made new manufacture. And that might be a way to go too. It might be a little more pricey than buying like Wasser wood, but you'll get, again, nice clean wood that's meant for staining or for doing projects with. CNT is saying Romanian wood should still be pretty cheap right now. So there you go. CNT also said there's some guys doing custom AK wood that is outstanding. That's one of those things about the SKS also. I know some people that really played with their SKS stuff, their stocks and stuff. Probably the old World War II stuff as well, but really playing around with it, I've seen more people play with their SKSs. Maybe that's just my generation though. SKSs used to cost $35. We had a lot of SKSs.
$89, bro. So like I bought my SKS way late. I bought my SKS during the Obama administration. It was $300, and I was appalled. You know what I mean? Because I was around in those days. And one of the reasons I fight like I fight for the Second Amendment and against all these stupid laws is because I was there when you had all those AK kits. I was following you then. As a gun dude, I was into it, but there were so many hurdles between me and firearms ownership that I couldn't get in on this, or I didn't want to be bothered getting in on it because I had to spend a bunch of money. I had to have people as what do you call those? Not a cosigner. What's the word? People that weren't related to me, but said it's okay for me to own a firearm, that I'm not a threat to public safety. And that's one of the requirements. What was that?
References?
Yeah, references. I had to have 2 references that were not related to me to say it was okay for me to own a firearm. And I had to go through all that just to get to where you were, and then build a gun and then find a way to pin it to 15 round magazines to 30 round magazines that were cheap as hell. All that had to be overcome. No. And what that did to me was take me out of one of the best times to actually purchase AK and get into it. I mean, I remember when Jim Fuller was having build parties in California, and all you had to do was take the class and get there. And you can sit there and build a freaking AK with Jim Fuller in the shop. That was bullcrap. And that's why I fight against these laws, because it's totally unnecessary. And it stopped me from being able to get in on what pretty much was a great time that I probably could have learned a lot more about AKs, AK manufacturing, and been more into them as a tool. Like I took it was a dynamic rifle 2 class with my friend Rocco that he was hosting. There was one dude with an AK there. Everybody else had AR-15s because everybody also had to overcome the same thing in New Jersey. Like, how hard are you going to work to own an AK when it's an entire uphill struggle just to get an AR? So everybody that ran the class, we had one AK in the class. That was it. It's just not that popular in New Jersey because of the hurdles you have to jump through. It's not popular. And I've taken classes here. You know what I mean? I've taken multiple classes here. And yeah, I'm sorry, but no one had an AK in that class. One. I'm just thinking of it. I mean, the craziest dude in the class I took was me, and I had an SKS.
Oh, now we're talking about classes a little bit, or you're talking about classes, and I'm reading from out here, and that's got me thinking. So C&T said Fuller is the OG AK builder. He's been around for a long time. OG would imply original, but he's definitely not original. He would be in the third wave of AK builders in the United States, and he's definitely one that was on YouTube. But before YouTube, there was 2 waves of AK builders, like major waves of AK, well, at least 2 major waves of AK builders before Fuller came along. But what you're talking about was, I don't know if you're talking about, you said California. He was in Rifle Dynamics in Nevada.
Arizona? Nevada,
Yeah,
okay.
In Vegas.
I'm sorry.
And you know that he eventually left there and is kind of free. And I think he might be in Arizona or California or something. I can't imagine he'd go to California though. But anyway, but they still do classes, and that is kind of a cool thing.
By the way, this is how into it I was. I actually, because this was early, bro. I think I had, for the longest time, a brochure from them. I think I had a brochure from
Rifle Dynamics.
Yeah.
So the company would build to spec, and Jim Fuller builds a hybrid AK for reasons. Like, if you listen to, I don't know if how often he talks about it, but at least back in the day when I listened to things, people interviewing him, he would talk about his deliberate reasons for building his AKs his way. But Fuller Phoenix now, okay. But anyway, I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent. I just wanted to throw that in there, that if we're talking AKs, I want to be accurate that Fuller was, like I say, definitely wasn't the first is all. But then without getting too far into the AK stuff, getting back to the training stuff, do you know Psionics in Tucson?
I know the name Psionics, yeah.
So Psionics is a company that makes ARs here in Tucson, and they've been around for, I'm trying to think, probably, I don't even know, maybe 10 or something, 11, something like that, 2011 maybe, somewhere in there. And anyway, so now a friend of mine was telling me, oh, you got to go check out their podcast. I don't know if I've talked about it on here, but they do a podcast, maybe 10 or 12 episodes deep, or maybe it's 20 and I've missed some. But anyway, it's interesting because, one, I know everybody, and 2, they're talking about just general stuff. They do a podcast from an AR builder an AR builder, but and they're AR builders that they mostly build for law enforcement. So a lot of departments will, build, they'll say build me 20 of these or 10 of these type of things, and they build to that kind of thing. They have like 400 departments that they've built for. And like I said, I've known him. He's a cool dude. And back in the day, we would go over there all the time. And like a couple of times, Glock came. He was a Glock. I don't know if he still is, but they were a Glock. I don't know if it's called like a master seller or something. But they sold so much to law enforcement that they were at some level with Glock, where when Glock would come out with a new gun, they got the new gun before it was announced at SHOT Show, so that they would have it right away. You know how they do that to companies or to gun shop. So whenever that would happen, he would let me come over and film the thing so that I could be one of the first people to have a video at SHOT Show, right, when it was actually unveiled. So he let me do that a couple of times. I forget what guns they were anymore, because they were Glocks, I don't remember, probably Gen 5 or something, Gen 4 or something. Maybe one of them was the texture one, maybe that RTF texture, because it's a long time ago. But anyway, so we've known Josh and the people over there for a long time, and friends have worked there and stuff. And then anyway, so they've been doing this podcast. And then I don't know if you know Chris. Probably not, but Chris is the guy that all the training classes I've ever been to have either been like at a place where I went to the place, like tactical response or front sight or something like that, or gun sight, or in Tucson or in Arizona, where the places have come to Arizona. And almost all of those were this one guy brought them to Tucson, to Arizona. I keep saying Tucson, but it was really a place between Tucson and Phoenix. And this guy was a police officer, and he was sort of in charge of the range, but he was also interested in bringing people. So anyway, I'm getting to the point that he was at SHOT Show. We ended up chatting a little bit, and I was like, "Oh, I'm liking your podcast. It's super cool when you guys talk about the old days." And long story short, I'm going to try to get a chance to talk to him in an interview format or something, just to chat, to talk about all the different people that he's brought to Arizona in his first trainers over the years, because that is going to be, in fact, I've got a couple of people helping me to try to figure out how many people that actually is, like how many instructors that actually is, because it is a lot. It's probably not all of them, but it's a pretty darn big list of them.
Yeah, dude. I mean, look, you don't have to go to world famous trainers. I mean, truthfully, I think, especially for somebody that doesn't train a lot or has never trained, I think it's kind of a waste of money um, to go out and look for that person. Um, I understand being excited about it. You know what I mean? Because before I got into this, actually got into it, and I was just reading about it and watching YouTube videos, or actually, well, before then, when I'm reading Soldier of Fortune magazines with no covers on them from the dumpster in the back of the Barnes and Noble. Your local dude is a good place, a good source. Local classes at the range. One is picking up the basics. Understand the basics and the fundamentals are exactly what Delta Force is doing, just at a much higher speed. Sight alignment, sight pitch, you're freaking manipulating the trigger without moving the sights off the target. All of that is the exact same thing, regardless of how much money you dump on the class. It's the exercises, it's how much they know and how much they can impart. And of course, there's layers and other things you're doing, but build the fundamentals locally. I mean, in my opinion, it's the equivalent of going to community college for the first 2 years instead of dropping a gang of money on a 4-year degree. It's like, yeah, go to community college, get those basic classes down. They're going to be the same regardless of the place you're at. Save a crap ton of money. Get that education down, pick up good habits, do all that stuff, and you're still into it. But you'll learn a hell of a lot about holsters, about gear, about who around you locally can buy this at a discount, or who got great deals on this, where you can pick this used up at, and building friendships and relationships with people. And then when you're ready to go to a expensive class run by whoever, Instead of going solo and getting one room and paying one ticket, you can go with your group of friends and all roll together and get an Airbnb and, go in on a group rate for the class. Or even crazier, you and the group of dudes you met and ladies or whoever the heck you train with can actually sponsor to have a big name trainer come to you in your local range, and you guys will get a totally different price, and you won't have to pay for hotels, you won't have to pay for rental cars, and it could be within driving distance of your house for a 2 or 3 day class with somebody that's national because you've already built these relationships. So don't sneeze on training and don't worry about training with the big names until you've actually built a skill set and learn what you don't know and what you really would get from a big name trainer class. That's what I've learned over the years. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's actually a bunch of good points. I would add stuff like when you go to a class, you're going to be, there's nobody's been to a class enough times to know what it's like. You're not going to be an old pro going to a class. You're going to be like a newbie, no matter what you go to. So getting that out of the way so that you kind of get just the gist of what classes are, like how lunches work and when people show up and how fast you get into the, doing things and mag changes and figuring out that it's better to just have dozens and dozens of magazines loaded instead of trying to reload the same 3 magazines over and over. And then whatever your learning curve is and whatever you start at, doing a couple of classes and being able to get to the point where you're beyond your gear and your skill set, and now you're paying attention to the curriculum and the class and the teaching style, right? Like you're going to save a lot of money doing all that economically than going to a big class for sure. But on the other hand, if you got the money to do it at a big class, like you said, like some people can just go straight to fancy 4-year college, then go for it. Like you just realize that you're going to miss a lot of the stuff that everybody else is learning who's doing it incrementally. And then if, let's say, you do go to a class with a bunch of fancy class, so fancy class meaning somebody who thinks they're so good and is going to charge, let's say, $500 to even go to the class. Masada Yub is the only person I know who charges a shit ton and is totally worth it. Everybody else who charges a shit ton, there's only a couple of people that charge a lot, and they don't even get you're there to meet them. So like to say you've been to their class. So, and I'm not trying to be a dick, but that's how it is. And when you go to a class like that, where it's $500 to get in, guess who shows up to a class that's $500 to get in? A bunch of weirdos and douchebags that can pay $500 to go to a class to meet somebody. So they probably don't go to training, and they're not on the clock. Nobody's going to those classes who's a cop or anybody, right? Like they're just going because they want to meet that guy. So what Tony's saying about meeting people and like figuring out, one of the things you just talk about was like, didn't want to interrupt you, but like you go to a class, no matter what class, you go to a class and you're hanging out. One of the reasons you go to a class is to go with the other students and to meet other people who are interested in the things you're interested in. And what you're going to find out is how they practice. And at least around here, the way that a lot of people practice is to go to matches. So now you're going to figure out which matches you can go to where the people aren't dicks and weird about the rules. Some matches, and they're like, you didn't do it right. You did it wrong. And it's like, well, I wanted to practice my holstering. Like, you're not allowed to do that. You can go to other matches where they're like, don't shoot anybody and do what you want. And you find out from going to classes where you can go train with going to matches, or like what matches are going to be the most useful for that. Or if there aren't any matches, like what range you can go to on what days when people show up and actually try to practice what they learned in classes or something. And then the other part of it, you just didn't get to it, is you get a group of people together who go to training, who like it. Not everybody can afford everything. Not everybody can take all that time off. But if somebody goes to a long range class, and like me, I could never go to a long range class. At least I probably wouldn't, because I could care less. I just don't care about, I know how to shoot long range enough. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to make 1-shot sniper kills or anything. So I can shoot long range enough for my liking. But when my friends go to a long range class, I will certainly show up to the range and let them teach me everything they learned, because one, I get free class out of it. They reinforce everything they learned, and everybody wins, right? Like, the whole point of going to a class is to learn stuff, and one way to reinforce what you learn is to teach it, and the rest of us get the experience of seeing what, you know, what happened and what it's all about. And so anyway, so I was going to add that to it, that yeah, going to a class is way more than just the actual 2 to 8 hours of whatever instruction and trigger time. It's the learning how to evaluate yourself and your friends when you go to the range and be coaches for each other instead of just watching each other suck. That kind of stuff.
Yep, I agree, man. And it is true that, I mean, in my personal opinion, because I've gone to classes, because I've worked with these ranges and I've met people, I'm able to build those relationships, and I was able to get into competition, and I didn't have to start as a stranger walking into the range, you know, because I'd already was known to enough people that were involved that invited me to the range that I could draw from concealment, and run it like a self-defense class. I'm not here to become a grandmaster. I'm here for your scenario training and under a stressor, and see if I can draw and put rounds on target quickly and more efficiently by learning it here and seeing what you guys are doing. So how fast can I, you know, pull my Glock 19 out from appendix, put rounds on target, do a reload, move to cover, all that stuff I was doing in competition, not because I want to be some ranked person. That's ridiculous. I have zero interest in that, but I do want to get better with my firearm. That's why I do it. My secondary reason for doing it is try to encourage others to do exactly what I'm doing. Come out and let's shoot and move. Get that gun out of the closet. Get that gun out of the sock drawer. Or get your carry gun out because you haven't done crap with it since, you know, and this is talking in Jersey, since you passed the ridiculous, ever-changing requirements in the class to get your permit.
CNT is saying didn't know anybody in the classes. I think that's what he's saying. Didn't know a soul in the classes I went to. Don't necessarily, and it's not like, I don't want to make it seem like everybody's holding hands and like eat lunch together, best friends because you went to a class. But you'll go to a class and you'll see somebody, and this is what happened to me because I went to a lot of classes and I didn't pay for any of them because I'm cheap. I went to audit the classes and report on them, so I'm not acting like I went to all these classes, but I seen what happened in a shit ton of classes, and I attended some of them. But after a while, the instructors would usually go, "Why don't you ever shoot?" And I'd be like, "Because I'm cheap and I don't have any money." And they'd be like, "Okay, you can take it for free." And then I would go, because I don't think I ever paid. I'm that cheap. But so I'm not trying to act like I shot all these classes, and that means that I also got to watch a lot more because I wasn't shooting. I was paying my attention to the class, and I think I did a pretty good job reporting on them. And here I am, however many decades later, still talking about them. So hopefully everybody got their money out of it. But so you'll go to a class, or ideally one or more, right? Especially if you go to any one instructor, usually going back to subsequent classes can be cheaper. Or like I did, audit them, like just audit classes, go there and report on it for your YouTube channel or your blog posts or whatever it might be. Or just go there and offer to take pictures for them. These days, they probably might appreciate that. But in any case, you go to more than one class, and what'll happen is you'll find that there's students that go to more than one class also. Now you know who these people are, right? So you've seen people at one or more classes, and now you go to the range or the gun shop or the gun show or just, the grocery store, and now you can give them that nod, like, "Where do I know you from? Oh, crap. Yeah, you've been at like 2 or 3 classes at that range," or like, "I've seen you at 2 or 3 different classes when so-and-so comes to town." And that's how you find out that these people, that's how you become acquaintances with these folks. It's not like at the class, everybody. Actually, I have been to classes. You've been to classes where they have everybody write down their email, and then
Yep.
everybody who wants to, and then the people in the class actually pay attention and keep in touch. I have been to some classes like that, and that actually is a pretty cool thing. But
Yeah.
anyway, most classes don't do
Yeah,
that. Most classes, it's like, hey, if you showed up, it's your business. Like, if you want to work together, go for it. But they're not asking you to or requiring you to by any means.
100%. I think classes are what you make of it. So you put in the effort, you'll end up knowing some of these people hanging out. The Instagram thing we share, I think that's cool. Train and learn, they make a habit of trying to get people to share. Like, hey, you're here with a bunch of people. Now, train and learn is more than just a freaking training class. It's way more. But like, why throw that opportunity away that you took classes with these people? Don't ditch your chances of building up, if not friendships, associations with people that you can at least. Now, this is what we've done many things, but you've built relationships up. It's not my best friend, but when you meet some people in the same industry and you're talking training, you can still do the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Do you know so and so? Did you take this class? I took this class with him. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know him. We met in this class. Now, all of a sudden, a wall has been broken down that was there before, maybe that wouldn't have got breached as quickly. I mean, you're an adult, you know how to make friends and you know how to talk to people in a social environment. But the quicker you do it, I think it's better. But whatever. Hey, listen, taking a class has a lot of benefits outside of just the curriculum you're going to pick up from the class. And that's kind of what I want to put out there. It has a lot more. And most people don't know what they're missing because they never made that first step. So they don't know what they don't know.
Can't disagree. I think we've gone all over the place. We don't have like an agenda. We go off of what
No.
people talk about in the comments. I think I missed a few. I feel like I've missed a few. And I want to blame this software that I'm using. It doesn't let me tag them like the old software did. The old software cost so much money, though. I'm not going back to it. Maybe I'll come up with another way of figuring that out. Like maybe there's a way to take a screenshot or something that I haven't figured out yet. Or maybe I'll just bug the place that I'm using right now. Maybe they just don't know that we want that feature.
True.
But we're about 3 hours, so I figure we should probably chop it off at some point. But thanks with having the little bit of the ick for coming on and chatting. And we got to work on the site, right? Because it's all still 2024 on the website. But
yep. Because I've been wrecked.
Happening with 2A Freedom.
Because I've been wrecked. I haven't been riding, pushing real hard to get all of my dates back. I've sent dates out for 2025, and 4 out of the 5 have gotten back to me. So I have 4 out of the 5 dates. So most of the year for 2A4E diversity shoots are already scheduled. I'm going to shoot a message to the owner of the last range this weekend, and hopefully his manager can call. I have no idea. The voicemail went somewhere weird, and then the last week I've been out of my gourd, so I won't even blame them. I'll blame me for that. And the week before was SHOT Show. They called me the first day of SHOT Show. The range manager did to arrange something. That night I called them back. Of course the time is off, but I left a message. And I didn't get a call back. I called again the next day and it went straight to voicemail again. So called the owner of the range, trying to get the last, I think it's only 4 dates. So we have over 20 dates set up right now at 4 different ranges in the state of New Jersey for 2025. So yeah, as soon as I get them all, I'll go ahead and send them over to you and probably just check a crap load more pictures so we can just change out the photos on the website. Just so it's a different set of photos.
Yeah, we could do a new template or something too, just give it a new paint job essentially.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Hey, let me give a shout out to Carnivore Snacks. Oh my goodness, these things are expensive, but they are delicious. I know you won't eat them, but I actually enjoy them. I
That
have. What was that? Hello.
I got my mute cadence around here. I was yawning and I messed it all up there. I'm saying some kind of meat snack.
Oh, it's nothing but meat and salt. Only two ingredients. Joe Rogan is a big fan of it, and that was their whole. Joe Rogan liked it. I could give two hoots and a holler about some famous damn person. But they were giving out free samples or shot, and again, they were right beside Tandem Cross, and Tandem Cross was just you look across the aisle, and there was Ross Martin. So they had the buckets of it. They make ribeye, brisket, pork loin, and hamburger, which is all freeze dried meats. I think that's how you call it, right? Freeze dried, and it's just meat. No seasoning, no marinade, no sugar, no fire, no grill, no steak knife, and it's not jerky. It's just dehydrated meat, and it's
So
really, really,
what
really, really good.
it turns into like a powder, like that peckermin or something.
I mean, I don't know if you call it dehydrated. It's just dried meat. It's not jerked.
But I
So
mean,
it's,
when
it's
you chew on it, is it turn into like chewy, like a jerky, or is it turn into like powder, like powdered something?
it's kind of like jerky without being stringy and really chewy. It's
Okay.
crunchy. Yeah. And it's sliced really thin, but it's expensive if you go check it out. Got 10% off. Um, but I bought it a shot and they gave us a 25% off shot show discount. And then they sent us an email and it gave us another shot show discount. I'm not going to tell you, what the discount is because we are what you call it, but I'm just saying it ain't too hard to figure out what the discount would be for Shot Show 2025 from Carnivore Snacks.com.
I don't know. Back in the day, that's making me think of for scouts. One time, we were going to be taking a long trip, so to prepare for it, we were making a bunch of the foods travel ready, I guess, or making
Hmm.
stuff. So we made jerky. I think we just bought round steak, but it's been a billion years, so I might be saying the wrong one. But I feel like we just bought some steaks at the store, sliced them about the size of French fries, right, and then
Hmm.
salted the shit out of it and put them
Yep.
in the oven with the oven door open, real low temperature, like overnight. And
Yep.
that was some of the best beef jerky I've ever ate. I mean, I
That's
haven't ate a lot of beef jerky in my life, but that was pretty fucking good.
that's kind of what this is. Just that sliced really thin, salt done up. Uh, I would never have purchased it because again, it's expensive, like $35 a bag. Um, but I tasted it, I ate it, and it was like, holy crap, this is awesome. I'm not even saying good, dude. I'm saying awesome. And let's go ahead and say this. You don't eat much, or at least I don't eat much during Shot Show because you're always hustling and moving, right? From point A to point B to point C. I'm going the whole day. So I didn't have much to eat at Shot. I had whatever we had upstairs in the media room. And then I was just out there all day. I didn't buy a damn bit of food. I only got food whatever someone gave me at the booth. So I get downstairs. Is at the end of the day. It's like 4 o'clock Friday, and I'm starving. And they had free samples, so I checked out the ribeye, and it was just delicious. I'm like, holy crap, this is awesome. Then they had all four sample bowls, and I tried everything they had, and it was just really good. And they were closing up, so they didn't care how much you ate. So I ate, and then I bought 2 bags, and then I talked to the owners about sponsoring our raffles because it's a non-firearm item, and I think I'd been much more successful having that as a raffle item too.
Yeah, especially
good
when it's a
circulation.
decent quality food thing where people aren't, it's like a treat. Like people aren't just buying that every day like Cheetos or something.
Exactly. So I had a conversation with her, got her email, and I'm going to be conversing this week and next week. I'm doing a lot of reaching out, but my whole thing was it was awesome. So I got it in yesterday. I ordered it Friday, so I guess it took a week to get here. I mean, I'm sure they had a lot of orders to go through from Shot Show. So it got here, and I tried it out here, and it was still as good as it was when I was starving at Shot Show. So for me, I think it's worth it. I'm still looking at it going, damn, that was a lot of money, but
I
it
don't
was
know, it's
good.
not my thing, but I could totally understand if you wanted to eat quality protein for like exactly what you're talking about, like a day of just a lot of strenuous effort where you just want packed food, you know what I mean? Concentrated food.
So I'm looking at it, right? Because I had it there and I was hungry. And I'm like, I don't eat much anymore. I've controlled my diet. I've eaten smaller portions now and I'm spacing it out more. But every now and again, that 2 o'clock, I'm hungry kind of thing. And you can make bad decisions. I'm like, you got this. You eat three, maybe four pieces of this, and you're fine. And you're not eating something that's horrid for you. I mean, 5 servings per container, and it's 160 calories per serving. I don't even know if I ate a serving of it there. You know what I'm saying? So it's something I liked. No one gave me anything, and it was just all me. And I was like, this is worth it to me. So that's what I checked out. That was one of the things that were non-gun related that I took away, that I kind of dug. Oh, if anybody want to see anything funny, was it Caw Industries or CAC Industries? KAW or KAC? And I don't mean Knights Armament. They had an AR-15. They had an AK safety fitted to an AR-15. They actually made a safety for an AR that looks like and operates like an AK. Yeah, there you go. I thought it was just unique. They did it to troll. You know what I mean? Just to troll the internet.
Oh, okay.
And a couple people thought it was interesting, and they got it, and they're like, "Yo, dude, this is actually worth putting together." And I'm sitting there because I was upstairs. It was in a supply showcase. Is that what it's called? The supply showcase? They were
Upstairs?
upstairs. So,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
upstairs on the fifth floor. So I was checking it out, and there was just so many people in front of that booth. I went around it. Well, two of my guys didn't go around it. They went and checked it out. And they were like, dude, it's well made. It was nice. And I'm looking at the picture, and in my head, I'm already figuring out what kind of AR I'm going to build just to have that safety on it, just because it was that unique. It was that different. So check that out. Yeah, thanks, CNT. Excuse me, KAC. They make it. I don't think it's on their website yet, but stay on it because they said they're going to be selling for about $65. Because I'm like, do you make a 7.62 by 39 AR? Because I got two of those uppers here. Do I build out around that or do I do something else? What kind of furniture do you build on your freaking AKAR just to have fun with? Because after a point, that's what you're doing. Or that's what some of us do. It's an interesting build. I like doing things different. Um, but most of the stuff I do is pretty, what do you call it, conventional because I'm introducing people to firearms. I mean, if it comes a choice between buying something for the diversity shoot and buying something because Tony's thinks it's quirky, I'm doing it for the diversity shoot
Yeah, it'd be
because I don't
different.
think most
Like
people.
that giant like ranch with multiple safes to put shit in and you're not going anywhere and they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on a mission right now. Maybe if I strike gold one day or something, you know what I mean? Get the right six numbers, I can do something that interests me and me only. Ha! Now it's time for me to do that weird thing. But nah, I'd much rather actually introduce way more people to something with that same amount of money or that same amount of energy. One thing that does annoy the hell out of me that I wish it could have in Jersey is M1 carbines. Even though the price has gone way up now, I think that would be an interesting place to get people interested in firearms, even that caliber. You know what I mean? As personal defense, self defense, and even a fun range gun that hasn't been sullied by the media. I mean, an AR is very inexpensive. The ammo is inexpensive compared to anything else, and a great way to introduce somebody to firearms. But people have been dealing with 40 straight years of being, the AR and the round itself being villainized. That an M1 carbine would be a good alternative, in my opinion, to owning an AR. The wood furniture and whatnot. Just like in New Jersey, I'm looking at Fight Light. Is that it? Fight Light, the company that makes Monte Carlo stocked AR. Doesn't look like an AR-15. The SIG regulator doesn't look like an AR-15. The Foxtrot Mike France rifle doesn't look like an AR-15, but it uses 5.56. It uses an AR upper or AR type upper and AR magazines. Those are good. Okay, we're kind of there, but having something like M1 carbine that is World War II, the Good War, Korea, Vietnam era, but it doesn't look all assault weapon like. And yes, I know I'm using a bullcrap term, but that's the point. Um, that would get us past that. So anyway, that's one of the reasons I do what I do, and that's one of the things between me and one of the things getting your way in a non-free state. It's one of the things I fight against here. It's getting firearms that that help break. It's a good gateway drug into firearms for people that have been eating bullshit propaganda for their entire lives. Because my overall mission isn't to try, oh, you should just tell them to suck it up. Well, no, dude, that's not how we're doing this. Maybe you can run your Second Amendment organization that way. But when I'm trying to get your grandma into firearms, I'm not going to freaking smack a Daniel Defense AR in the hands and tell her just suck it up. I don't care what the ladies of the View who she watches religiously says. You need to just suck it up. No. No, I'm going to freaking hook your grandma in with like a 22 that looks like a 1022 or something her dad owned. And then slowly, in that same 1 hour period, I might end up having her shooting a freaking AR and an AK by the end of the day. But I got to get her there first. And I'm not saying that because I'm making it up. I'm saying that because I've done it. All right, it's 7:00. I got to go make some soup.
Yeah, I've been eating soup, but I want something to eat today. But I think the other thing that I didn't want to interrupt you there, but I was looking for was that what's frustrating for me watching, and it's got to be even more so for living in it, is when you're dealing with the bullshit laws, you've got to attempt to comply with whatever firearms you're purchasing, right? But how much effort you're going to put into complying versus how much effort you're going to put into getting rid of the damn laws that you're trying to comply with. And since you don't have enough people to put all kinds of effort into both, it's always some kind of a surgical decision of this much time and effort into this, and time and money and effort into this, time, money, and effort into that. And
so for me, when I do, I'll go ahead and say it. My diversity shoot takes precedent over me personally showing up to testify. You know what I mean? I'm like, I have 25 days that I have to be a diversity shoot growing the community itself. Me burning up 4 or 5 days a year sitting in front of some bullcrap legislators that are going to vote the same way every time, regardless. is not worth it to me outside of, hey, Tony showed up. I might do it once. I'm not doing it more than that. Or I'll go to a rally where I'll speak, but I'm not going to take my time, waste an entire day to speak to my legislators because I've done that already. You know what I mean? I've gone that way and I motivate everyone to go there at least once or twice. I've gone 3 times. I've spoken in front of them 3 times. I've made impassioned pleas. I've made 3-minute speeches that I've edited and worked my ass off to get down, only to have them totally ignore. So I feel that making speeches in front of crowds to get people motivated and tell them about diversity shoots and how others can grow the community by being good gun owners and inviting strangers out to the range is a better use of my time. But if you're not doing that and you want to actually be part of the process, I still think it's great. But it was frustrating for me, and I found something that makes me feel better. And I feel there's a better use of my time without me getting angry, because that's something else I would get. I would get frustrated and angry because I see this as part of the civil rights struggle. And to me, it's the exact same thing as Black civil rights, if you want to call it that, or the Black civil rights movement. And you look at it and go, how can you sit there and deny that because of the color of my skin, I shouldn't have the same rights as you? I see it as just as simple with the firearms thing. So I'm not asking anybody else to see it that way, but I see it just that simple and just that frustrating. So I'd rather do something that makes me feel better as a person, that I don't get angry. Because I can have a conversation with an individual, but I'm not going to have a conversation that works with someone that's getting paid to shit on my rights. And that's where a lot of these people are getting funded from Bloomberg and everything else, because this is a political movement that's against my rights. I'm not having an open, honest conversation with that person. Yes, the flight fight to light lever is the new one. Was it called a Harrington or something? It's named after the actual guy that owns the company. Those are coming soon. I don't have a date on them yet. They were like, it's one of those, what do you call those? Um, Delays and getting all the parts in to have those built. I think those are very interesting.
Production delays, I guess.
Yeah, production delays, parts delays, because, and I told them point blank, yeah, I want your product. I want to be able to take your product to ranges in Jersey, because I got a lot of people that have given up, that have gone, you know what, dude, I'm tired of figuring out what the next attack on semi-automatic weapons is going to be. So I sold all of that and I got lever actions now. And I get it. I get it. You got lever actions and pump actions, and you'll be good longer. Doesn't mean they're not in the fight. Doesn't mean they're not in the fight. It doesn't mean that they're not writing letters to their, legislators too. It's just they don't want that in their house.
I don't know if I looked at the
next
flight light one. Is that did it have a really long throw on the lever? Not that it went
I did.
forward, but I feel like, is that the one that went down, like it came out of the gun very far?
I don't think so, dude. I mean, I just ran it at the show, last week. Um, I didn't see anything wrong with it. I was just a little frustrated that it wasn't out yet and I couldn't get my dirty little hands on it.
Oh no, I'm thinking of something else.
Oh, you mean the one like a Browning action that the whole thing comes out like kind of weird?
One
Or
shotgun, Terminator shotgun one, where the whole guts of the thing came out. I thought
Oh,
one
yeah.
of them was like that. I think it's one that held an AR mag, though. I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, there's holders AR mag, but I don't think it's that one. I just like the idea of everybody doesn't have to be in a fight with me. You can still, fight the good fight, but you can have a pump action, you can have a lever action. You can do whatever you need to do. Okay, what is that? You can do whatever you need to do. No, I was looking at that scoped mare's leg.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess somebody just playing. There is a sci-fi movie, I think, that has somebody with a scoped mare's leg, and maybe they're trying to play with that. or just playing around.
Okay, cool.
You
All right,
could
I
do it,
find.
yes. Especially if you're setting it like on a rest. Like it would totally
Mhm.
work if you're setting it on a rest, I guess. What do you
Hey,
think
listen, that
of?
handgun hunting.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, handgun
No.
hunting. I mean, 14-inch barrel, 44, 357 Magnum. That gives you a lot of, and it's a pistol, but you have a decent optic on it, and you're going to treat it like a handgun. But you got all that barrel, you have all that convenience, you have less weight. It's almost like going handgun hunting with a short barrel rifle, except you don't have that stop.
Yeah, I would, as much as I wouldn't mind getting a mare's leg, I don't know if we're really, is a mare's leg really a mare's leg? Like, does a mare's leg have a stock on it for real? Like the TV shows that we're all think about, those were SBRs. Like those had no barrel, but they had stocks on them. You could still shoot those things real easy. When you get a
Yeah,
mare's leg nowadays, the pistol, it's got that cool little stock, which I like. I really, really like it, but it's useless for shouldering. Like you can't shoulder it really.
yeah,
I mean, technically you
you're
can
not
shoulder
shouldering
anything, but
that.
it doesn't work well. So if you could get just or if I could, if there was no NFA or when there's no NFA, I
Hmm.
will own a lot of
Oh yeah.
short levers because that's just such a cool thing. Like you're going to lose a lot of capacity, but
Hmm.
there's those ones that come up through the stock. I don't know what the brands are, but you know what I mean? Like
Like
the, you've
Spencer,
seen those,
yeah, like a
right?
Spencer.
And so if you get, all they have to do is redesign your lever so that it's a lever with a 10-inch barrel or 7-inch barrel or something cool. And then there's a tube coming up through the stock. So full size wooden stock, tube coming up through it. That would just be a super cool gun to have. Like just a fun little truck gun, cool gun to have.
I like weird, dude. I like different. I like weird, especially if it's weird and effective. Like weird and don't kind of work. It's kind of janky. Not
Yeah, yeah.
really cool. But weird and works. Oh yeah, I love it. I love the idea of just a short barrel freaking 44, 45 Colt or 357 Magnum. I mean, I'm partial to 357 Magnum just because of the price of the ammo for the heck of it. But yeah, I love that idea. Because you can get fast with this stuff, especially with the kits they put on them. Short, I mean, it started in competition, but you can have it in your self defense lever action. I was actually talking to Henry, and they're going to send because Henry gave us a few lever actions that I've used for years at diversity shoots, but um, loading that, what do you call it? Loading that tube up, that front end loaded tube up, is not something I wanted to introduce people to, especially now that they got the King's Gate. Well, the guy over there was like, "Hey, dude, I'll send you a new one. I mean, it's not like you haven't used the one currently for years." And I was like, "All right, cool, bro. I appreciate it." So having a side loading gate 357 Magnum at diversity shoots, I think, will be a great thing again. And
Yeah. I mean, that's totally capable. I mean, unless you're bad guys that you're dealing with or carrying something that's massively overpowered, which they probably would be, or at least could
mhm,
easily, no, it's never going to happen anyway. But if it ever did happen, it's just as easy that they're going to have AKs as anything else.
mhm.
Because I'm assuming you got a whole nother thing that I don't have to deal with, and that's pirates and people coming in from the ocean, just taking over from the shore. Like they'd have
Oh
to
yeah,
go through
definitely.
California to get to us. So I'm not too worried about somebody coming from the shore, but you're way closer to the shore than me. So I figure you got to worry about pirates or just like sea
Oh,
attacks.
well, one, the Somalis get all the way here. One, they're really starving by the time they get here, so they
And they're
just don't
super
care.
hungry. Yep, they're gonna fight. Yep,
Yeah,
and
and
they're
then
gonna
they're
have
gonna fight
AKs.
us.
If they're pirates, they're gonna have AKs. But anyway, aside from that, like a lever is totally capable. Like it's a super useful
Yeah,
gun.
I think it's a useful long arm. I think, of course, once you get 16 inches of 357 Magnum, that thing is smacking like really in a power area of an AK. If you believe what can find at ballistics about an inch, depending on the loading, you're hitting 30-30 hard from a 16-inch barrel, 16, 18-inch barrel of 357 Magnum.
Well, dude,
That's not going to kick anybody's ass.
let's leave it there because we're at
Yep.
over 3 hours now. You got to go eat. I got to go eat. I really got to go to the bathroom. But my dog is also
All right, man.
there, so I'm getting like two different eyeballs at me from not
Okay.
taking that out for a while. But it's
We're
been a
out.
good chat, and
Yep.
sounds like sooner than later we'll have all the dates for next year or this
Yes,
year.
sir.
Next year, this year, and then yeah, we'll be. Are you doing anything next weekend? We'll be back next weekend.
Yeah, we'll be back next weekend. If anything, I might be at the Great American Outdoor Show finishing up,
That's what I was thinking.
or I
Yep.
might be back in Jersey.
Yeah, you'll probably
All
be
right.
up there. I'm thinking. Okay, so maybe we'll see you all in a couple of weeks, but maybe next week, but more than likely a couple of weeks, I think.
Yep.
Anyway, thanks
All
everybody. I'll put a button here, and then yeah, it's a good saying goodbye.
Cheat. Ninja? Ninja! Ninja!
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.